بسم الله. طيب. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا ثم أما بعد. We'd like to welcome all of you for this presentation on the art of adult education. You see this introduction right now? As short, as simple, but it can be very powerful. Compared to something like this. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. Although I know that we learned when you talk to people, of course, you always start with the thana and the hamd and the dua and so on, but the energy in the way that you present that make big difference. We've also learned in many, many Islamic schools and also education and universities that when you talk to people, you need to look in a certain direction, for example, and holding a certain position when you stand in front of the people and showing specific characteristics. But things change. Culture of people change, and the dynamic of the crowd will also change. And you're going to have to adapt many, many new techniques that will make the message very effective. The art of adult education, as we have the word art over here, it's actually an art. In addition to being an art, it's also a science. We're going to discuss that together, inshallah ta'ala. But before this, I want you to know who is speaking to you right now. My name is Yaser Birjas. I'm originally from Palestine, born and raised in Kuwait until 1990, 1991 when the war started. Actually, we left after that. I started my professional career studying electronic engineering in UAE. So by profession, you could say I started as an engineer. And then, subhanAllah, somehow, change of heart, I switched to Sharia, where alhamdulillah, Allah blessed me and finished in Medina, University of Medina, Kuwait al-Sharia, back in 1996. Allah blessed me being the valedictorian of that class. SubhanAllah, very interesting. It's a long, long story, yani. But that experience in itself, of course, obviously, it's part of the adult education and learning as well. When I finished, alhamdulillah, I went immediately to Bosnia. There I spent 4 years of my life, alhamdulillah, working as a relief worker and aid, a humanitarian. We work with men, women, with children. Most of my job was really taking care of refugees, also dealing with the educational aspect of these communities. So like we could say like a resident da'iyah and a resident relief worker in that region, that area for 4 years. Alhamdulillah, it was a very blessing experience, and I can tell you, wallahi, it was the most humbling experience I've ever had in my life. 4 years studying in Medina teaches a lot in terms of information and knowledge. But 4 years I spent working with the people, that's a whole different level of knowledge. Something you're going to have to realize that whatever that you learn, it might not be necessarily what people need at the moment. SubhanAllah, you adjust even your knowledge based on what people need, not what they just want or what you think that they actually want. After, alhamdulillah, spending 4 years in Bosnia, I got the opportunity to come to the US over here. See, my family lives in India, not too far from here, about 50 minutes away from here. My parents, my brothers and siblings, so I was the last one to come over here. So I came in 2000 to El Paso, Texas, where I spent 9 years, alhamdulillah, as an imam, also as well, working with the community there. And then 1 year here in Orland Park, about 35 minutes from here. And then I went back again to Texas, where currently, alhamdulillah, work as an imam at the Valley Ranch Islamic Center in Irving, Texas. I'm also an instructor with Al Maghrib Institute from 2004 until now. Alhamdulillah, I've been teaching around the country. And taught thousands and thousands of hours and thousands of students. A great ni'mah, a great blessing to be a teacher, really an educator. And it's an unbelievable experience. You learn as you teach as well. Alhamdulillah, I got the opportunity after teaching for many years. I realized, something is missing. Because what I really do, I communicate with people, but it doesn't seem to be connecting well with them. So communication, anyone can do that. But connecting is a skill. So alhamdulillah, I applied for a master's degree in adult education, where I got my master's in adult education and training from the University of Phoenix, 2013. And since then, alhamdulillah, I can tell you, wallahi, the way I present, the way I prepare my classes completely changed and completely different. And subhanAllah, the point is getting the results. If you don't get the results done properly, don't always blame the crowd. And that's what I teach myself. If the point didn't go across, then you need to blame yourself first and foremost as a presenter. What went wrong? Is it the content that you chose? Is it the timing? Is it the setting? Is it the place, the space? Is it you, the presentation, the energy? something went wrong, did not allow the people to connect. And that's something we need to learn, inshallah ta'ala. This presentation is going to be all about this, bidnillahi azza wa jal. What is it all about? What are we going to learn in this presentation, inshallah? Like I said earlier, everybody communicates, but few people connect. As a khatib, just the fact that you're standing on the minbar doesn't warrant you the right to force people to take what you say. Just because you're an imam, as an assigned leadership, doesn't make actually or guarantee people will follow. So what you need to do, you need to make sure that whatever you do with the people, if you're going to lead the people, they need to walk, your walk. They also need to come and follow you. And if they're not following you, once again, there's something wrong with the quality of your leadership. And that's what we need to learn over here. How can I communicate and connect with my audience, with my people? Inshallah ta'ala, here we're going to learn how to experience how adults learn. Alhamdulillah, all of us here, of course, in the adult age. Usually, scientifically or psychologically, they measure the adulthood age from 17 and up. 17, 18 and up. So they have different age groups. Alhamdulillah, we're all above these age groups right now, in the middle of that actually. So we're going to see how adults learn and how they experience learning. It's not like children. We're going to explain that, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. We have a very unique way of learning. We're going to study it together, inshallah, azza wa jal. And when we come to learning, we also, as imams, as da'iyas, as public speakers, we need to realize that not everybody is going to receive my knowledge, my information equally in the same fashion. So sometimes, as a khatib, as an imam, I come and I give a presentation that is more of like one size fits all. Yani one topic, the same topic, I give it out there, and it's up to them how they're going to receive it. No, it has to be actually the other way around. If I know that my crowd is very diverse, my crowd is very diverse in terms of age, in terms of cultures and subcultures and gender and so on and so, I have to present it in a way that will allow each and everybody to feel that they've been targeted or being basically kind of benefiting and being considered in that presentation. And that's something very important. The way that I say it, the way I present it, and the material that I choose, actually, it makes a lot of difference actually for people when it comes to learning from you. Before we can even start any programs, and subhanAllah, one time, I remember a brother, another imam, I actually coach imams as well, by the way. Yeah, so I do actually imam coaching too, where we get together and talk about how to make a presentation, a program. So one imam one time called me, he said, Sheikh, how do you do your tafsir class? I said, tell me what's going on. He said, well, I've been actually teaching tafsir, but it's boring. It's just the people are not there. I said, tell me. So most likely you will have maybe about 10, maximum 15 people sit in your class, and most likely they're sitting in the back of the masjid and they stretch their feet towards you and they don't want to leave because they're so embarrassed to leave you alone speaking. He goes, yeah, that's true. I said, we all go through that at some point, subhanAllah. So how can I make sure that the people, when they come because they want to learn and listen? So I said, okay, tell me, how do you prepare your class? He said, well, I said, what do you call the class? He goes, tafsir. I said, that's it? He said, halaqa and tafsir? I said, yeah. I said, do you know how the people, they know what you're talking about and what subject, what surah? So, well, alhamdulillah, we start from the beginning and to the end. I said, don't do that again. People, they need to know, they need to have some like benchmarks, goals to achieve. So whenever you do tafsir, I said, instead of just saying tafsir class, choose a surah. So for example, let's talk about Surah An-Nur or Surah Al-Hujurat, for example. So it's Surah Al-Hujurat. The first thing you begin with, you divide the surah to different segments, and then each segment choose a title for it. So one part of Surah Al-Hujurat at the beginning, which is the Prophet ﷺ. So talk about this, respecting the ilm, the knowledge of the Prophet ﷺ, and so on and so on. The second thing is you talk about إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ. الغيبة, النميمة, الأخبار, تثبت, كذا, إلى آخره. All this will be another subject. Then you talk about إنما المؤمنون إخوة. You talk about the other portion of the ayah, the surah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم من قوم. Adab. So when you divide the surah like this, each session has its own title, its own subject. And then you realize, okay, I'm going to need 6 weeks to finish this surah. You announce a program. Tafsir Surah Al-Hujurat. 6 weeks. And you present the titles for every week ahead of course of starting the program. So people, they know when they come what they're learning, and they know each subject and each topic and each week, so they can design their attending, timing, program, whatever, and so on. So it says from the beginning to the end, when people know what they're learning, they will benefit from that and they will come to it. But the problem when you say tafsir, so how many people they're going to just come? Because they don't even know what you're talking about. SubhanAllah, he did what we talked about. We coached him, so we had the program up to 7 sessions, and he did, alhamdulillah, all the titles and everything. I said, give a description for every subject a little bit, and you will see. So later on, a few weeks later, he sent me a text message. He goes, Sheikh, Jazakallah khair. I said, that formula that you gave me, it works like magic. He says, I'm forever in debt for you or to you because of this. SubhanAllah, I said, Jazakallah khair. Keep up the good work. And since then, mashallah, you've been doing all these activities in that fashion. Whether it's tafsir class that you're giving, seerah class, aqidah, akhlaq, tarbiyah, whatever that you're going to be teaching, you have to put some effort on designing it in a way that is beneficial to the adult audience. A lot of us, and I'm one of you, as guilty as charged as well, sometimes we run out of time. We don't have much to prepare for a long, let's say, program. So we just announce, okay, seerah program, akhlaq program, fiqh of Ramadan, this and that and so on. So we just do these generic titles. And you expect people to come? Of course they're not. Except those who are loyal to you because they love you, they feel embarrassed to leave you alone. But we need people to come because they want to learn. So inshallah ta'ala, that's something we're going to be learning over here with Allah Azza wa Jal. This class over here, or this presentation, is a summary of an entire master program that I've taken actually from 2011, 2013 on adult training and education. I'm giving a summary. I'm not going to give you everything, of course, here. We'll give you just summary, inshallah, leaving more time for you to ask questions, inshallah ta'ala. Just to give you an idea, so we can test our base knowledge. The base knowledge, basically, it's to see what we know already before we start that. So here's the results of that survey that we sent you. It was about 15 pages, if you guys remember it. 15 questions. So the first question was the age group of this group. Okay, we get actually 17 as a matter of fact, 17 answers. One was updated just recently. So 17 answers, we got them here. What is your age? So majority of the hadirin here, they said from 25 to 34. And I'm not sure if this is true. Yeah, looking at the audience over here. Some people, they wanted to look younger. No. So apparently, mashallah, some people, they just maybe took the survey, but they didn't attend. Okay. How long have you been teaching adults? We asked this question. Look at the answers over here. So people, they say, less than a year. Some people are just still freshmen in this area. Other people, mashallah, 1 to 3 years. So we have 3 people said 1 to 3. And the majority, mashallah, equally 4 per, answer from 4 to 10 years, 10, 15, 15 and plus. So mashallah, we have experts over here. I'm not the expert here. I'm only a facilitator. You guys the expert. You've been dealing with teaching for 15 years and up, most of you over here. So that's great. Alhamdulillah. So therefore, we're going to need to share that knowledge together, inshallah. The third question we had, do you consider yourself a teacher or an educator? It's a tricky question. So we said, okay, some of you said, I'm a teacher. Others, they say, I'm an educator. And that's the majority. That's cool. But are you? That's a question. Because if you're an educator and you don't, people are not still benefiting much, there's something wrong then. So then some people, they say, I don't see any difference. Teacher, educator, it's the same thing. What's the difference? And we're going to learn the difference, inshallah ta'ala, here in this presentation. And some will say, I'm both, a teacher and educator. When you say I'm both a teacher and an educator, it's more like saying, I don't see any difference. It's a tricky question over here. So it's not really what people should consider teaching versus educating. And we're going to see that together, inshallah. Question? How many people say I'm a teacher? Only one. Was that you? What is the largest age group of your audience? When you teach in the masjid, when you go to a halaqah program, a conference, whatever that is, who comes to your room? Who comes to your halaqat? So we've seen that most people say over here, those who are between 25 and 34, or 45 and 54. Now that's very ironic, by the way. Although, based on what I see over here, I don't want to say I have doubts in saying that the majority are between 25 and 34, because that's critical age, and not so many people might come and attend our class, our halaqat, for reasons we're going to discuss together, inshallah. Then,
in that one, though, I was looking for another option, a wider option.
Like a variety.
Very restricted options here.
Well, actually, the question allows you to choose more than one age group.
I didn't know that.
So that's why probably, yeah. That question in particular was open for more than one option. Now, طيب. Who attends your classes more? Female students or male students? As you can see, we say most of us say male students. Honestly, in my situation, more female students than male students. Masjid versus exactly. So maybe because you guys, if we teach in the masjid, we don't see the women's section. We don't realize that more women probably attending than men, subhanAllah. I have classes in my masjid as well. What I do, the men classes and women class and community classes. So when we have community class, alhamdulillah, yeah, you could say it's kind of balanced. But when you have men classes, few people attend. But when I have women classes, you talk about 100 and up every week. Huh? It's basically, it depends on what you present and what they want to attend and the timing as well. We're going to discuss that inshallah. Next, we have which age group is most likely missing from your classes and programs. So even though we said that 25 to 34 is the one that attends the most, but here we have quite significant drop, yani. And the majority is 18 to 24. Why do you think they don't attend? We're going to discuss that together, inshallah. Question number 7 was, have you ever attended any program on adult education and training? Look at the contrast over here. SubhanAllah, yes, I did. No, I didn't. I'm not even sure I understand what does that mean. Alhamdulillah, we understood the question. But here's the thing. We're teaching adults. But we never thought that this requires specific training from us. We thought this just happens, alhamdulillah, by natural design. You just, you move on, you start teaching, you build the experience, and it's going to work. I thought so too, sarahatan, I thought so too. But when I start seeing kind of like my effectiveness in teaching in my masjid, whether when I give the khutbah, or I give a khatir, or give a talk, is not as effective as it should be, I realized something was wrong. And that's why I went and looked it up, and alhamdulillah, I found there was actually a master's degree program in adult education and training. And I took that. A lot of it has technicalities, not actually related to my field, but I benefited so much from that degree, alhamdulillah. So there is actually, it's a science. It's an entire science, and we're going to discuss that, inshallah, in the next few sessions, inshallah. When I teach, I focus on. So we said, do you focus on finishing the material before the time is up? Like some of us, we are content-centered teachers or educators. I have to finish the material. Like in the khutbah, I don't know how many of you do that, Jama'ah. But when you know the khutbah is 25 minutes, and then what do? It says, I know the time is up right now, ya ikhwa, but this is a very important topic. Give me another 5 minutes of your time, inshallah ta'ala. And people will be waiting for you outside to beat you up afterwards, right? Sometimes we do that because we focus on the content. Now, if you say, give me 5 more minutes, believe it or not, the attention span of the people drops, not just dramatically, they shut down immediately. Because the expectation was that the khutbah needs to be over by 1 o'clock. And once you pass 1 o'clock, and here's the perception of time is very unique. When they know that the khutbah ends at 1, and you start at 12:30, they're prepared. They don't feel any fatigue, they don't feel any exhaustion, they don't feel anything. The moment the clock passes 1 and you're still talking, suddenly they realize, oh my God, your khutbah is too long. By 1 minute. But it's the perception of time that this 1 minute was over, of course, the board. Yeah. So we see here that most people, they say, I focus actually on the students, not the material. I hope so. I really hope so. And we're going to learn here how you focus on the students more than the material and more than the time that you give, actually. Next, question number 9. How long does it take you to prepare for an hour session? MashaAllah. An impressive answer, طبعا. Of course. But is it true? Allahu Ta'ala. Because I'm guilty as charged as well. Sometimes when I don't have time, I would have to grab my phone and go online and Google a topic. And because, alhamdulillah, I know as an imam, I have a wealth of topics I prepared a long time ago. I'll just scroll down and browse, of course, the material. So I prepare it, and then I go to the presentation. That's not fair for the audience, I admit. But alhamdulillah, that's not all the time. It's sometimes in emergency cases, yani. But when you give a presentation like these, you will give a presentation that requires a lot of hours, you have to sit down and prepare for everything. Inshallah, towards the end of the presentation, we have a whole section on how to make a successful delivery, how to make actually your choice of words and topics effective, inshallah. We're going to discuss that towards the end of the presentation. Next, how do you choose the topic of your session? If you, yes?
Sorry to interrupt. I wasn't sure just to share one or two thoughts. If you could distinguish also between maybe the concept of teaching versus inspiring. I think there's a big difference between, for example, teaching and a kind of, like in our masjid, we may have like general lessons that are more for inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also a talk, for people that are actually interested in learning.
True.
There's also a difference between a khutbah and
Absolutely. When we talk about the educator, that is us over here, all of us, we have a whole section on that. So we say that teachers perspire and educators inspire. Teachers, they get so tired, exhausted trying to teach. But educators, they motivate. When it comes to the khutbah, if I ask you guys a random question right now, khutbah, what is the purpose of the khutbah to you? Is it to educate the people? To teach? We all know that you only have 20, 25 minutes with these busy-minded people who are sitting there just for the sake of doing their wajib and leave, right? A lot of us imams, we think that this is the only time I have with these people, so I have to teach them what I know. It's not about teaching them what you know. It's about inspiring them, motivating them to go and learn what they need. So usually what I do when I give a khutbah, and if I have an important topic, I make the khutbah as a motivation and an action item. I will say, tonight, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to be discussing such and such topic in detail. SubhanAllah, there are always extra people coming to attend as a result of that statement. Why? Because when you inspire, they come. So we're going to discuss that, inshallah, in details afterwards. How do you choose the topic of your session? Like we said, most of us as imams, what we do, subhanAllah, we think, at least we think, that we know what the people really need. But is it based on survey? And even just to be between me and you, Yani, and the cameras, is if you look at what we discussed in this weekend with an AMJA conference, it's all about new Muslims, cases and events and so on, right? I would ask myself the question, when I was asking and wondering the question, subhanAllah, of all the speakers who gave presentations in the weekend, I wonder how many of them made surveys with new Muslims. I wonder. Or is it just them, predicting what they might be going through, what questions they got all these past years and months and so on, and then start making their research based on that? I was really willing and waiting for someone to present a survey that I made these questions and I asked these reverts throughout these years, this masajid, these communities, these areas, this and that and so and so, and this is what we got. So I felt that, that's not fair. That we're given answers to questions that we predict might not be as relevant to many of these people who are actually trying to serve in the community. So that's something we need to learn as community, as leaders, as educators. If you're in the masjid, just because you're the imam doesn't mean that you give topics because you believe it is important. Yes, they are important. But the way you deliver it is one thing. The way you market it is another thing for yourself and for the community. But you have to also understand what do people need the most. So you can present it to them, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. So here, most of us, we say, okay, I bring what people need, even if it was not interesting to them. Now, that's the correct answer. Because I have to keep, they say, give people what they need, not what they want. Because you will never go wrong with what they need. But there are tons of times you will be wrong if you only give them what they want. And what they need is not what you think they need. Just because you're the imam and you think, you know what, I have to teach them this subject and that subject. It's not necessarily what they need. This is what you think they need. So you have to ask, you have to get feedback, survey the people, discuss with them and so on and so on. And subhanAllah, they will benefit from that. I remember a few years back when I still teach actually in my community the women's class. So usually when you teach women programs, what most likely topics people would choose for women? Mostly family. Family things, the family stuff, children, birrul walidain, heart softeners, and so on. How many people would think of giving women classes on usul al-fiqh, for example? Few. Because we don't think they need it. So in my classes, I taught them the same thing. I taught all the necessary things at the beginning of al-adab, wal-akhlaq, wal-aqaid, and so on. And then when I realized that, alhamdulillah, the group is much solid and is ready, I asked them, what do you guys want to study next? So they didn't know what to choose. I said, I have a suggestion for you. What about studying usul al-fiqh? Because if you're going to be studying fiqh next, let's study usul al-fiqh. So the ladies, and most of them were mothers, said, what is usul al-fiqh? I said, this is what usul al-fiqh. So I explained it to them. There was some skepticism in the classroom. But then at the end they said, okay, let's try class 1. So I said 3 levels. Level 1, level 2, level 3. And let's start with that. So subhanAllah, we did start level 1, and we didn't stop until we finished the 3 levels in about a year and a half. And wallahi, one of the sisters, which is the most rewarding thing you would say, you hear from your audience, when she came to me, she said, Sheikh, I want to thank you very much for respecting our intellect. She says, because we don't really take these classes, no one really come to respect us to give classes as serious as usul al-fiqh, but it was very challenging, but at the same time, extremely, extremely entertaining and important. Alhamdulillah, again, I asked them what they needed, and they responded, and we gave them what they needed, and that's what we want for them. Next, these are some of the answers some people they gave when I said others. So it depends on the event. I used all of the 5 options mentioned. I bring what people need and what is an interest to the people because it relates to their daily life. I prepare something relevant to the community situation. I pick what is needed there, if there's interest. Question number 11, do you use instructional material in your presentation? Like do you use PowerPoint? Do you use handouts? Do you let people watch video and make a comment on it? What do you present? Of course, we have some limitation in terms of giving the khutbah sometimes, right? But other than that, when you give your halaqah, when you give your program, when you give your activity, do you use some of these material or not? The answer is sometimes. The vast majority said sometimes. And some people, only one answer we got says all the time. I'm not asking you to give it all the time. But I would love from you to start considering giving something because people, they value, and we're going to see that how people learn. Some people, they learn visually. Some people, they have to have hands-on material in their hands, taking notes and so on, so on. So we're going to discuss that, inshallah, afterwards. Number 12. My common style of teaching adults is, the vast majority, they say, lecturing. Most of us, we lecture, which means we stand and we talk. It's one way, kind of like conversation. That's not healthy. We're going to see in this presentation, inshallah, we're going to be using multiple styles. Right now, I'm doing the lecturing because it's just an introduction. No more. So we're going to have discussions afterwards, inshallah ta'ala. But when it comes to teaching adults, lecturing is not necessarily the most effective, by the way. It's not the most effective. And we're going to have to adjust and adapt. And if you're going to have to give lecturing, you're going to have to structure your lecture to segments. Each segment no longer than 12 minutes. 12 minutes because that's the average, actually, attention span before adults start actually dozing off and start getting sleepy or getting distracted or losing interest. So every 12 minutes, you have to, by design, make some sort of like a shift. Whether it's shift in the topic by saying, okay, chapter 2, part 2, or something like that, so that's a new thing. Remember, adults, they like to achieve. So these benchmarks in the presentations for them, number 1, number 2, number 3, these are called, achievement benchmarks. You have to number it, and you have to make it very actual structure. Question 13, when I teach adults, I will most likely stand up. Now, of course, if you're giving the khutbah, you're going to be standing up, of course. But besides giving khutbah, how do you usually give your halaqat? Most of us sit down and talk. I've learned that also from our mashayikh when I studied in Medina. And mashallah, most of our teachers, they will sit down and talk. To be honest with you, regardless how much knowledge they had, it was too much when you have 5 hours back to back. Each instructor just comes and sit down and speak for an hour. No discussion, no question, and so on and so on. That's why any teacher who wasn't doing it that way stood out for us. One of them is Sheikh Shanqiti, hafidhahullah ta'ala, faqih al-Madina. I remember actually, he used to all complain about back pain. So one day, when he comes to the classroom, he stands up the entire hour. He keeps moving around even. And when he teaches in the masjid, he sits down. So one time I told him, I said, Sheikh, please sit down. We know that your back hurts you. Please, if you sit down and talk, you can just teach while sitting down. He said, قال لا أستبيح ولا أستحل الجلوس في الفصل أمام الطلاب. يقول يعني هذا I can't do it. When I teach, I have to be standing up for them because it's give the energy to the students as well. So that's something you need to reconsider in your masjid as well. If you're going to be given halaqat, programs, activities, you're going to have to be standing up and moving around. Unless, of course, it's a very specific topic that requires you to sit down, that's a whole different thing. And 14, when I'm done with my talk, I always leave good time for Q&A. Now that's a very crucial subject. I have 2 books for you over here on asking questions. Part of what adults the way they learn is actually by provoking, in their minds these thoughts and also giving them questions. So when you ask questions, there are 2 kinds of questioning, or 2 kinds of questions. Number 1 is what we call static questions, and number 2 is dynamic questions. Static questions, adults, they hate static questions. Why? Because the answer to the question could be right or wrong. And no adult, most adults, of course, don't like to be wrong, especially in public when they ask a question. So, for example, if you say, Man awwal man dakhala fil Islam? Who is the first person to become a Muslim or enter Islam amongst men? People, even if they know the answer, they will hesitate because they don't want to be embarrassed. Why? Because the answer might be right or might be wrong. Dynamic questions, on the other hand, don't require people to give answers that are right or wrong. It's an opinion-based answer. So do you say, what do you guys think about doing such and such? What do you think if someone does this in the community, for example? What do you think? What would happen? So these kind of questions are considered dynamic. There is no right, wrong answer over here. It's an opinion. It can be right, can be wrong, but you have the right to discuss that or actually to present that. So always do your best to ask your audience dynamic questions, not necessarily static questions. Of course, it doesn't mean to eliminate all static questions, but if you're going to be and motivate the audience, you need to use a lot of dynamic questions. The last question we had over here, while I'm giving a talk, I allow students to ask questions during the presentation. Most of us said so. And of course, besides the khutbah, طبعا. And some of us, they said, you know what? I only allow questions at the end. People, they have different styles. I'm coming to you. People, they have different styles. I learned the best style from Sheikh Al-Uthaymeen, rahimahullah ta'ala. When he used to teach us, subhanAllah, he would speak for about maybe 10, 15 minutes on a subject, like I said, the 12 minutes, kind of thing. And then he stops. He goes, any question? And he says, he takes 3 questions. And then he moves on to the next part. And then any questions? SubhanAllah, so that keeps the audience awake, entertained, engaged, active, and they hold their questions until the time is ready for asking these questions. But if you say to tell the students until the end, wait, keep your question with you until the end, and the end is after an hour or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 hours of presentation, no one's going to come and ask a question because they're too tired. Probably even they forgot the question anyways. So it's very important that you give them that chance. It's actually very crucial for them to ask their question because they learn through asking questions. That's what they need, not what you try to present to them. Your question?
That was my question. For this presentation, what's your policy?
The same thing. I'm going to be actually speaking and give you a chance for Q&A. But this was just an introduction to go over the survey, and then we're going to start the presentation, inshallah ta'ala. Now that we are done with the survey, any question? Yes? Mm-hmm. Mhm.
I believe this, as we all are the teacher or educator,
Mhm.
but there are many other jobs that really involve knowledge.
True. Mhm.
For example, if you are a president of an organization, you have a code of shura, code of workers around you,
Mhm.
and I believe that you need to keep pushing information and asking for the job.
نعم.
So in business as well, our organization really
Yes.
works not only in business, but the civic experience.
True.
So the, our mix here,
Mhm.
we want to give our experience to ourselves.
Yes.
This is not me to teach others
Mhm.
as much as for me to develop myself as to start with my need assessment, I guess.
True.
What I am missing for me to improve myself. That is one thing. Me as a educating, how to learn how to improve my behavior myself. If I can manage that for myself, I can convey it to the others.
When we learn, inshallah, about the adult learner, that's us over here as we learn right now, we're going to see the needs. What exactly each one of us in age group, what we're looking for in the learning experience. So you yourself realize what you're looking for. For example, I'll give you an example. Also now,
One way from one point, and I'll go.
further.
The paper we have here
Mhm.
to differentiate between the andragogy and the pedagogy.
Mhm.
I think this is a vital point
Mhm.
that will separate adult education
Mhm.
from children education.
True.
So we don't want to repeat children education.
No, 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 we don't do that. But this whole presentation is on andragogy.
Teach children education, then the father
La, la, la. This is adult education. This is andragogy, not pedagogy. We're going to come to that, inshallah. Yes. No. Mhm. No. No. Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Well, that's true, but no. That's true, but we're going to learn here, inshallah ta'ala, even in classical topics. Like I teach tafsir. I just finished tafsir Amma a few weeks back. And after that, I did some etiquettes from the Prophet how to correct the mistakes of other people. I taught seerah, I taught akhlaq, I taught aqidah, I taught so many, many topics. But I guarantee you, people, they come. They don't come because me teaching. They come because when I teach, they're learning. That's a big difference. There's a difference between me giving too much information and giving them knowledge. So that's what we're going to learn over here. Even when you teach tafsir, you need to give the people knowledge, not just information. Yani, if I'm going to be only just relating what Imam Ibn Kathir said in the tafsir, or what Al-Qurtubi said in the tafsir, and what this said in the tafsir, I'm not doing much because they can just grab the book and read it. And if you don't understand Arabic, they will find a translation for it. But what you need to do when you do tafsir or do class in Arabic, you have to teach, you have to educate, you have to give not just the information, you have to give actually beyond the information. And that's what we teach over here, inshallah ta'ala. So with that being said, before we take a break, inshallah, I would like to have an activity with you guys. Just have an activity, inshallah. That's going to be for the next maybe 30 minutes, inshallah, or so. So, yes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Survey. Survey. So for example, when I have a class, for example, well, here's the thing. When they survey the people they'll choose. So if I ask one individual, what do you need to learn? They give you something. But when I ask 50 people, they're going to debate and they settle on a topic. So you give them what they need. But of course, you have to be in charge. And we're going to learn this inshallah as well. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. True. Mm-hmm. Well, absolutely. I mean, that's why the survey in the masjid is different than survey over here. We send surveys by email over here. But when it comes to the masjid, the people are present in the classroom, and we give them the option of topics, and then they choose for themselves. That's how it goes, actually. So you take it on the spot. That's the best kind of survey and feedback. Don't send it out now. Hold on. True. This was a based. Uh-huh. No, the survey we did over here, I agree with you. The survey that we did over here was not about needs assessment. It was actually about knowledge-based, you could say, kind of like testing the knowledge basic base of your knowledge. What do you have? How much you know about the subject before you start talking about it, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. With that being said, I want you all to stand up if you don't mind. All of you, stand up, ya Jama'ah. So in this activity, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to experience an example, a sample of adult education. How does it work? So what we need to do is this. First of all, you need to, just before you start moving, you need to go around the room, shake hands with 7 different people. 7 different people. You didn't shake hands with them probably throughout the whole weekend, if you can. Remember that, inshallah. And then after that, choose 7 people to be together. Make a circle somewhere in the room, because we will have an activity, inshallah, azza wa jal. And when you sit together, get to know each other by name. Speak briefly about your experience. Remember, you will have 5 minutes, which means you need to speak under 1 minute about who you are, what do you do, and what's your experience in adult education, inshallah ta'ala, for your group. Is that clear, Jama'ah? Bismillah, go for it. Go ahead. So go around, shake hands with 7 different people, and then make a circle, sit together as 7 people. Okay, Jama'ah, assalamu alaikum. Stay where you are, stay where you are. Are you guys done with introductions? 1 more minute? 1 more minute. Go ahead. 1 more minute. Finish the introductions. Memorize the names. 30 seconds. طيب يلا بسم الله. بسم الله. Stay where you are يا جماعة. Stay where you are. Okay. يلا يا جماعة. Be with us. Be with us. Okay. Stay where you are. Stay where you are. From that group over there, I want someone to volunteer.
Give me the name of everybody in that group. No, you guys, you do it. Someone volunteer. I don't want to pick somebody in particular. Who's going to do it? Okay, let's hear them. Let's hear them. Okay, go ahead.
Brother Bassett, Tamir here, Muhammad Sha'ban, Sheikh Muhammad here from North Carolina, myself Muhammad Fakhim, right here, Riyaz, Brother Shahid Ali, and Brother Fahmi.
Is that correct? MashaAllah, wonderful. This group over here, who's going to volunteer? Bismillah.
So Nabil Aziz, Mahmoud, Mustafa.
Guys. Yes.
So Nabil Aziz, Mustafa, Muhammad, Mahmoud, Muhammad, Junaid, Amir, Muhammad, Abdul Tahir, Abdul Majid, Abdul Hamid, and Muhammad Ali.
كل اسماء الله الحسنى. عبد المجيد عبد الحميد. خير جزاك الله خير. From this group.
معمر رؤوف علي داوود محمد عبد الناصر.
Is that correct? MashaAllah, wonderful. Okay, your group guys.
Brother Yassine, Brother Majid, Brother Arshad, Muhammad Saghir, Brother Raouf, and Brother Muhammad.
MashaAllah, Allahu Akbar. Takbir ya Jama'ah. Okay, so from just this activity, what did we learn? What do you guys learn right now so far? From this activity, what did we learn?
Getting closer to each other.
Basically, getting comfortable with strangers. As an adult educators, a lot of people come to your class, you don't even know them by name. It's hard and difficult to communicate and connect with people when you don't know them very much. You're going to have to break that silence and try to get to know the people. One way of doing it, which actually we skipped it over here a little bit, is while people coming in, you shake hands with them and introduce yourself and everybody else around you. That's very crucial you do that. Even if they usually come to your masjid to the halaqah. Sometimes after Salatul Jum'ah, as a recommendation, as an imam, after Salatul Jum'ah, I go and I stand by the door. I don't sit in my position for very long. No, I go and I stand by the door, and as people coming out, I shake hands with them. Jazakumullah khair, barakallah, thank you for coming. Barakallah, I appreciate that. You have no idea how much impact it leaves in the mind and the hearts of people, even if they did not hear much of what you said during the khutbah. Wallahi, they will remember that moment. And next time when they come very cheerful because they know that you're a friendly imam. Sometimes we do that handshaking before you go on the minbar. Like come a little bit earlier, sit down, for example, in your office for some time, get outside, shake hands with people as they come in. Jazakumullah khair, barakallah feekum, mashallah, how are you doing? How's your day? Just basically get comfortable with strangers. That's a very important thing. The second thing is this is a social aspect. As human beings, we are social beings. We learn better in the social actually gathering than we do individually. So when you try right now, each one of you were sitting on the seat individually. So you're trying to learn on your own. Suddenly right now you made a circle, you made friends. You guys now realizing you're learning together. So learning together is much more motivating than learning on your own. So that's one way actually of making it happen. How do we do that? We sometimes ask the audience as they get in a halaqah to give feedback to each other, to give an answer to each other. So we kind of connect, so we can help them start learning together, inshallah ta'ala. And obviously, it's a networking opportunity. So Sheikh Muhammad, for example, right now, he would go and connect with Sheikh Ali, for example, Abdul Nas or somebody else, getting to know someone from somebody else, or another masjid, another community. Or mashallah, you're expert, you teach that kind of, that program, or this program. It's a good opportunity for networking together, inshallah ta'ala. Before you leave, I hope you guys can share contacts with each other, inshallah ta'ala. Now that we learned this, the next question and activity for you is to discuss together this question and give me an answer. Which adult age group is most likely missing from our masjid programs? When you call for a program, when you ask for a halaqah, when you call for a tafsir, whatever that you do, which age group is most likely missing from your masjid program? And what is the most likely profile of a member of this age group? I want you to mention 5 top, descriptions of that age group. So for example, some of you might say, well, what is missing is the one from 50 to 60. Okay, what's the profile? There are older adults, retirees, you say, for example, first immigration, for example, immigrant background, generation background, and so on. So eventually, make a profile. What is the profile of that age group? Go ahead. You have 4 minutes, inshallah. Yes. Please, go ahead. Hold on a second. Yes.
I have objections to that.
Please, go ahead.
Because we all are adults. So why do you ask for the age group? I think the question should read, what discipline is missing? What experience is missing in our group? I think that will make more relevance to the program we have. What experience is missing? What learning is missing? Not what age is missing.
We will come to this, but we're discussing
Why the purpose of the age at this stage?
Okay.
I'm not saying it's not related to me, age or younger, no, but we all are adults. So once we are adults, then the age is not the issue. The issue is the missing for us to learn.
But what if I tell you that the age is actually very crucial?
Explain it to me.
We will. That's
This
coming.
is adult education. This is not a children education.
I
So we
understand.
have the right to come and take.
Bear with me. Did you check the presentation in your booklet in your hand?
I want to listen to you.
Jazakallah khair. We have 5 parts.
Books to read, but I'm learning. I'm coming here to learn to understand.
Well, this is just the activity, and we're going to start the learning process after that. What I'm saying is that you're going to start a whole section on adult learners and adult educators. We're going to discuss that. Yes.
Sheikh, I go with your opinion, and I think age is very, very important because from my own point of view.
This is not a debate. He's the presenter. He's material. Let's listen to it.
It's good.
The generation, I think, every decade is different, and generation and the way of thinking is different from one to another.
How about you guys discuss it together? Discuss together. Bismillah. Go for it. Yes, join the group, please. If you guys want to sit down, go ahead, sit down.
So I can get you on camera. Now you here, I cannot. So if you go with the move my.
Jeff, join the group, please.
Yes.
Let's start with the first question.
The way of thinking is different. If you are different from and that's why
So we have 3 minutes for this, inshallah. 3 minutes. Okay, are we ready? Sama, are we ready? طيب, Bismillah. Let's hear from you. We're gonna go all the way to the right side first. You guys over there, huh? MashaAllah, la quwwata illa billah. You guys feel free to take one of the tables to sit down if you want to, because we have 2 more activities coming with this. طيب, tell us guys, which age group you said that it's mostly missing from our programs?
Is 23 to 35.
23 to 35. Okay, so they say 23 to 35 or something like that, okay? But can you give us the profile? How do you define that group?
So first you would describe working professionals.
Working professionals?
Working professionals.
Huh?
The other thing is that, a number of them might be newly married.
Newlywed?
Newlywed or newly married.
So why they get married, that's it, they disappear, yani? They get married and they disappear? So once they get married, they do a tikaf at home, yani. Okay, what else?
Intellectual. They have a higher expectation about classes.
So very intellectual, very independently intellectual, they expect, high discussions and so on.
Another thing is very critical of masajid, and they're more outspoken
outspoken, very critical. You know, they're not just like, okay, whatever they say, we'll follow.
Yeah, they're hard to please.
Kind of, yeah, okay.
Or unmasked.
Unmasked, okay. Message received. That's it? Wonderful. Jazakumullah khair. So they say 23 to 35 and they give the description. What about you guys, this group?
We said 16 to 24.
16
To 24.
to 24.
Yeah.
So, okay, give me the profile.
So we said they were first generation, they were English speaking,
Uh-huh.
underserved,
Uh-huh.
and unmasked, one of the terms they used.
Uh-huh.
Addicted to technology,
Mm-hmm.
and the fifth one was? They were born here.
So the first generation. Yeah. So, but basically you say the younger ones.
Yes.
In this case, where would they be? Are they in a professional field or?
High school to college.
High school, college. High school, college. Okay, okay, wonderful, wonderful. How about you guys? What's the age group you choose? Your group.
Yeah, so should I go by the majority of what they said or the average?
No, what the majority. What did you guys as a team? What did you decide on the majority? Let's see what you have. Bismillah. Tell me what you have.
So we had 18 to 40, 35 to 45. I came up with an average of 28 to 40.
Okay.
And the reason being young professionals, newly married, students.
Okay. So newly married, professional students. This is the age group. Wonderful. Jazakallah khair. What about your group?
So, Sheikh Yaser, we basically had the same issues. I would say 25 to 35.
25 to 35.
The profile is almost identical to the
Identical to that over there. Young professionals, they just got married, you know, very intellectual, very challenging and so on. Sure, not a Jama'ah. So from here, what do we see? What do we see so far? There's like a majority line. You chose guys the younger generation. They chose the a little bit older generation. So they all agree that when we come to our programs, this is the group that we visibly see missing. We see sometimes younger ones, kids. We see older ones. They come in their late 30s, 40s, and older. But that group in particular is not there. So we can agree it's a problem for us, right? Why is it so problematic for us? Why is that a problem to us? Because most of the community, they consider this is to be the next what? Generation, the next leaders, right? And if they're missing, how are we going to train them and prepare them to come to the masjid? That's a critical thing. Now the question is, that comes after this, which I want you to discuss together, is what are the top 5 reasons? What are the top 5 reasons you think they don't attend? Why they don't come? Think about it. Now you gave me the profile. I want you now to give me the top 5 reasons why you think or you believe they don't attend our programs. You guys, you've chosen that age group. You can continue, talk about it. That younger one. But you guys, I want you to think of the 24 to 35. 24 to 35, why you think they don't come to our programs. Give me the top 5 reasons. Not about their profile, it's about us right now as leaders, as masajid, imams in masajid and so on. What is it wrong that they don't come to our masajid? All right, Bismillah. Are we ready, Jama'ah? Are we ready? Okay, Bismillah. The group over there, you guys, you've chosen the 16 years old and up. At least 24, right? 16 to 24.
Yeah, we chose 16 to 24.
16 to 24, okay. I need to hear from you first because the age group is younger.
Okay.
So let's see, what do you guys think? The top 5 reasons why these young adults don't necessarily come to our programs, our activities.
So our top 2 answers were that there's a cultural gap between the teacher and presenter and with the youth.
Okay.
The second top answer was because there's no sports or recreational activities for them.
Okay.
The other 3 answers we had were not as high, but they were still a majority. We find that the presenters were too restricting in terms of making the religion hard for them. That there was a weakness in the faith of the youth, and thus they didn't come. And then the last one is that the masjid does not address their needs or give them fulfillment.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay, so this is basically for that age group, right? You guys, we're going to discuss that inshallah together. Now you guys, you have the same age group almost. You said 24 to 35. So let's start from you guys, from here. Bismillah. What do you have? What do you think that the top 5 reasons why this age group of professionals don't come to our masajid.
We have identified that the fact that this age newly married, they don't have children.
They don't have children yet.
So they don't have any motives to be involved in activities.
So there's no motivation for them to be involved.
To be involved.
So you say that it's usually those who have children who will feel motivated to come to the masjid because they want to take care of their children.
Because they want to take care of children and securing their future.
Okay, but not necessarily themselves.
Not necessarily themselves.
Okay.
But bringing their children will allow them to be involved.
Okay, so when they bring their kids, they get involved.
We feel from the masjid side that most programs, the masajid are focusing on mainly cater to the younger ages, which is the way young children with activities, and the adults that are above.
So you say that most masajid, they cater for younger ones and the older ones. Okay, but if we talk to these people, they say the programs that they were catering to the younger ones, they're actually so strict that they don't want to come.
But my answer is because of the nature of the masjid. Our masjid has a gym, so that allows sports activities. Maybe the other masjid doesn't have sports activities, that's why they're afraid.
So there's no recreation. You have recreation facility there. Other masjids might not have it. Okay. What else?
Third, that we have identified the fact that this age group does not or lack the long-term vision. So they don't have a focused vision of what is it, the consequences of not being involved, what's going to cause consequences.
So they don't have a long-term vision for themselves in regards to their religious education. But I assume they have another vision for themselves in their professional career, right?
Because for the professional career, we feel that this comes by nature. They just graduated, they want to get hired, so it comes nature.
So should the masjid provide services? Should the masjid provide services where they give some professional training in the masjid to bring these people in? Do you guys understand the question? If we know these people, they're busy working on their career, can we help bring that career development to our masajid? How many masajid they do professional training and fields outside of religious activity inside their masjid for these people to come and attend? So, okay, what else you have?
So we think also that from the masjid part, the masjid for this specific age group lack the ability to empower this group, meaning that we got examples, we ask them to come to be involved in shura and executive committees and whatever, but they always feel intimidated by their fathers, by their elders, that every time they speak something, the others will outspoken them by experience.
What would we call this? Masjid politics?
Could be very well.
Masjid politics.
Or the nature of their fathers always.
Basically, the older generation is kind of like blocking them. There's a block, even though it's not necessarily an official block, but it's an unofficial block that is blocking these younger generations from participating and helping. Wonderful. Last point.
Would be, we feel that this is something that by nature, this age group is way more focused on establishing themselves to get married, to have children, to have well-established job. So life distractions is making them not being able to.
You hear what you said? They're focusing on building themselves, getting married, career, establishing themselves, and so on. If this is what they're doing out there, can the masjid provide these services for them? The question, are we providing these services for them? That's the question. Now, okay, let's hear from the group all the way in the back there. Yes.
I mean, we got a few things here. We have career orientated, you've already mentioned. Masjid politics, which obviously can take a number of different forms.
Yes.
Between the board versus the imam, vice versa, or even between community members, etc.
And they don't want to deal with that drama. Yes. So you're saying they're missing the spiritual experience in the masjid. It's more technical, it's more religious than spiritual. Yeah, yeah. So what is the most successful, based on this point, the spiritual aspect, what is the most successful program that brings these younger generation or these young people to the masjid? What is it? What is it? What is it? I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. It's called Ramadan. See? It's called Ramadan. It's because it gives them that boost, that spiritual imam boost moment, they come. The question for us as imams and leaders and da'iyas, can we duplicate the experience for them outside of Ramadan? That's what we need to start working on. This is the big thing for us. How can we make the spirit of Ramadan, not Ramadan itself, of course, the spirit of Ramadan remaining alive in the masjid so people can continue coming? Basically, what do we do differently in Ramadan that makes these younger people, younger generation, come into the masjid and they spend hours sometimes and they're willingly volunteering, mashallah. There is something brings them there. What is it? What else do you guys have on your points? We're going to come, inshallah. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Like there's a disconnect between what is being preached in the masjid and what people really need to deal with every day. Like for example, in the elections, Trump became the president. No one says anything about it on the minbar. For example, they were talking about ghiba and namima, which is good, there's no doubt about it. But is that the time that we need to talk about ghiba and namima in that moment? That's the last point? No. Oh, mashallah, go ahead. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you said they need clowns in the masjid, yani? They need clowns in the masjid? So basically they want to be entertained while they're learning. Okay, what else? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Nah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. No. So the masjid doesn't have that environment that makes them feel welcome, feel home. Yes. Is that last point? No. Mm-hmm. So they don't own any program in the masjid. Okay. No. No. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's which is a spiritual aspect they're missing in the masjid. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you very much. Now let's hear from you guys. What are the top 5 things that you have about that same age group? Uh-huh. So time management or priorities? Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. But is that true? Is that a true excuse though? Because suddenly in Ramadan they have the time.
I would disagree with you in this because I believe Ramadan is something, the divine thing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, it is something that they did, but basically what we do in Ramadan is mostly just prayer.
The thing is, why do they come for this?
Because Shaitan is locked.
Shaitan is locked right now, locked up, so they have to. They can't come. Okay, what else do you guys have? Now.
We have
Basically, we don't really ask them what they're looking for, although we have learned right now what they really need and what we can provide for them here, but we don't provide it, unfortunately. Yes?
We have competition and attractions elsewhere.
Uh-huh.
We're competing with movies, Hollywood, and
The entertainment aspect, right? That's it. I mean, what I'm saying, the entertainment aspect, it gives them that satisfaction outside of the masjid. The masjid doesn't have to bring the movies and the games in the masjid, though, but we can provide the same feeling of gratification, satisfaction with other programs that will make them come to these. Yes? Friendly environment, welcoming environment versus being so strict and so, kind of like ultra-conservative communities. Nah, jazakumullah khair. Wonderful. So, yes? Yes. The most important aspect of that connection is what? How do you know that you connected with the people in Ramadan? How do you know that? They come back after Ramadan. If they stop coming, most likely you stopped connecting with them. And they might be coming back for some time, but if you stopped connecting with them, they'll stop coming. So that whole process is continuous. Until that is true. So you as an imam, you do your best to connect with these people that right after Ramadan, a few days later, when they settle down, they start coming back. Now, okay, so this is very crucial for us right now. We know what the problem is. We know where the issue is. The question that comes, inshallah, which is the last question for this activity, is the solution. So we know what the problem is. You guys, you know what the problem is now. What I want from you, I want you to discuss the top 5 solutions, the top 5 activities that you suggest that our masajid provide, our community provide, to make sure the participation of this particular group and that they come back to the masajid. What do you guys suggest? You know what they're looking for. You know what the problem is. What can we do to make them come back and continue coming back? Bismillah, go for it. All right, Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum, ya Jama'ah. Shall we start? Okay, Jama'ah, we're looking for solutions now. We have less than 10 minutes to finish this session, inshallah. Take a break. Okay, let's hear from you guys. Let's hear from you. Assalamu alaikum. So let's begin the solution with the younger group. The younger group from the 16 to 24. What do you guys have suggestions for us, inshallah ta'ala, to bring this young group come into the masjid?
One is investing in the education of the imam.
What kind of education are we looking for?
So depending on what the shortcoming is, whether it's a language barrier, improve his language skills, his presentation skills, give him presentation skills. If it's lack of socializing, maybe give him interpersonal training.
So imam education. Is the imam education just a matter of sending him to take language classes or just take degree in the university, or is it also improving the imam's quality of life as well? Because if the imam feels that he belongs to the community, he'll put his heart into it, right? But if you only just give the imam barely to survive and have his insurance on Obamacare, then how you don't think his heart is going to be there, right? It's very hard. So that's one thing. What if he has all these things right now, alhamdulillah? The imam education, I agree with you, it's very crucial, very important. What else?
Number 2 is giving the youth professional training. So do a survey of what it is that they want to become, and then have training sessions throughout the year for those professions to cater towards.
So basically, survey as well, that age group, what they really need, so we can provide these services in the masajid. Okay, what else?
Number 3, we said having social activities. We took examples of having a camp, basketball tournaments, and looking at their hobbies. and then creating like
hobby clubs in the masjid, what they actually like. For example, if you have, again, like you said, camping activities, retreats, programs, and so on. Wonderful. What else?
Number 4 is giving them ownership and responsibility in the masjid. So either having a youth committee or just appointing them individually to responsibilities that they should take care of.
When we say youth committee, are you going to give them full responsibility of the youth program, or this going to still be supervised by the adults?
It's going to be we didn't discuss that in detail, but ideally, if we can give them full ownership with a supervisor that is.
But the point we're making here, they need to own the program. Even if we were to give supervision or not, that's another thing. But they need to know that this program belongs to them. They design it, we approve it, we work together on it. Anything else?
The last one we had is a liaison between the committee and the youth, so a youth director.
So youth director. What if the youth director is just running, with the youth away from the masjid policy? Or fire the board, what do we do? But we have to create a harmony, like you said, liaison, but something that will all work together as a community. Otherwise, we go back to the same bears the brothers we're talking about over here. Wonderful. Let's hear from you guys now about the other group. So we talk about the young professionals, 24 to 35. What solutions do we have for them?
So we have similar points for me
not to overlap with them.
Right, so the youth director was mentioned.
Youth director for that group.
We feel the challenges are so many that if you just focus everything on the education committee or the imam,
Like we just can't run the masjid with one person running everything. So the imam, we want him to give the khutbah and the class and the design and the program and everything. And so it doesn't work like this. We need people who are designed for this. Yes.
So the other thing that we have mentioned that was not mentioned is that we need to start focusing on providing services and not necessarily focus on religious service. So besides the religious services of catering to the adults of Umrah, Hajj, Ramadan, all that, social services or even some things that would attract them, like tutoring classes.
Tutoring classes.
Preparing for SAT tests.
No.
Preparing for how to prepare your resume, how to look for good jobs.
Professional training in the masjid. Wonderful. Okay.
Then we, of course, for the masajid that do not have facility, is to seriously convince the officials of investing into entertainment facilities that would offer organized games, that would not only bring people in, but add a cap on that.
Recreation, basically, facilities in the masajid. Do you guys know that some masajid, in the Dallas area at least, we have one masjid in the Dallas area that actually has a swimming pool. About other 5 masajid have gyms, but one masjid has a swimming pool. Do you agree or disagree? That's not the point. But at least they're doing something about the recreational aspect of it. Naam. So the same thing what they said. Jazakallah khair. Wonderful. Yes, please. Monthly potlucks, social gatherings. Jazakallah khair. Wonderful. This group over here. Yes, what do you guys have? Bear with me, Jama'ah. We have about 5-7 minutes, inshallah, to take then do we take a break? Yes.
So something similar, we worded them slightly different, but one was actually engaging this young professional crowd to sharing what they have. Giving them a platform to share what they have.
So what Sheikh Muammar mentioned, basically, bring professional training in the masjid. You're saying they need to be the teachers. If they're qualified, because if you assign someone to become a teacher, guess what? What is he going to do? He's going to call all his friends to attend. He's bring them all to come. Hey, I'm going to teach this guys. Come and join us. So he's going to bring the people. Yes, what else?
Then we had empowering your volunteer base, or encouraging them to volunteer and actually providing them.
Opening and volunteering opportunities for them so they can empower them. So you give them the ownership of the program so they can execute that. Wonderful.
The relevant topics of keeping up with what's happening in society. So write seminars, other things that after like post-election, things like that. We also involvement in leadership as well.
They need to become the leaders, so involve them in that.
And then one thing you mentioned is marketing and a presence on social media.
Marketing, so using the social media where most likely they will be, right? So this is where they are going to be. They're going to be on social media. So the masjid needs to market direct activity and programs there on the social media. Wonderful. A question for you guys. When Trump was elected and the fear mongers, they won the platform basically in the country. How many masjid did a program exclusively to invite people to come and teach them how to deal, with these new events in their lives? MashaAllah, 1, 2, 3. Okay. How many of you brought professional speakers, like whether they care speakers, for example, or maybe wonderful? So if we are actually trailing these events, then we're doing a great job. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Whenever an event happens that requires people, they feel scared or they feel uncomfortable, instead of asking people to shut down the masajid and just cool down a little bit and then come back again, we bring the people and teach them how to manage these issues. Counseling, we bring like when this happened for us in our masjid, what we did, we brought somebody from CARE to speak. We brought a political analyst to talk about this issue, the political aspect of it, and so on. As an imam, I was a spiritual guide on the subject, and then we had a counselor, professional counselor, someone who's specialty in counseling. And we all spoke on the subject because that's what the people needed. And trust me, we had about 400 people, if not even more, packing the Musalla area. Because that's what the people needed. So this is something we realize how much they need, so we give. Last group, go ahead, Bismillah. And then we take a break, inshallah ta'ala.
So we know that a picture speaks 1,000 words.
Sure.
What we would offer is food, because it speaks volumes of books and over 1 million words. So offering food with our programs.
Like potluck?
Huh?
Potluck?
Yeah, potluck, pizza for that specific.
Barbecue if you're in Texas.
Barbecue, yeah.
Nah.
The advertisements, flyers, making them very nice and professional because people.
Visuals. When they see the program poster looks awesome versus just somebody did it on PowerPoint, it's a big difference, right? Mm-hmm. But are they going to be motivated by external factors like these? Are they going to be motivated by external factors? Some of them they might do, yeah. Nah.
So this is part of their environment that they live in, right? So you think about those people, they're not really connected to the masjid, they don't see an eye to eye. In their professional life, that's what they deal with, right? Mass professional marketing,
yes.
Prizes, raffles, something that kind of, right, it's catching their attention. That's how they look at engagement, right?
So we're looking for social marketing. Not just social media, social marketing. We do have actually some brother who is specialized in our community. He's specialized in social marketing. And he designed a lot of activities and programs for us. So we do sometimes like family things, like you guys said, last weekend, we had a fly a kite picnic. We had over 1,200 people came to the park with their kites. Just for that program. And subhanAllah, just like amazing. And the program was from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m. And people, they stayed for 2 extra hours as well. And after that, subhanAllah. Just a social marketing. We also have a picnic breakfast every month, like you said yourself. And that's what most of these people, they come because they're young, they have young children. And they come and they play in the park and they connect and they network. And subhanAllah, they just have a lot of fun. And they have a lot of discussions. And then, ironically, they come for Isha. Even though the program is actually what's happening in the morning. Yes, please, continue.
So, and then onto this point, so when we would offer a prize that is, with a Q&A before the lecture, you would see, young students taking notes. So I immediately thought our masjid also has a school. So I went to one of the students and said, MashaAllah, I'm very impressed, you're actually taking notes. Is this a school-related project?
No.
They said, no, I'm taking notes because I want to win that prize in case I get asked. So although that might be their main goal, but side points, they're actually benefiting.
But that's for the 16 to 24.
And MashaAllah, you even have adults that want to win an iPad.
No.
So that's one of them. Making surveys, because once we get them to that
the brainstorming ideas.
So we mentioned social activities, having the game nights, both for the brothers have theirs and then the sisters will have theirs. And then when they gather there for the game nights, we give them a small 5-minute, 10-minute reminder. So you have a huge crowd, and then you talk to them about specific.
طيب. I might agree or disagree with you on these solutions for that age group, but I respect the decision you guys made on choosing these as your solutions, yani. And the last one. I'll give you the last one, inshallah. Go ahead, the last one. Nah.
Finding what their specific needs are. So let's say if we feel like there's a large group of people.
Nah. Well, that's what surprised me right now, Jama'ah. You all agreed that the young professionals, 24 to 35, is missing. But when I asked you to give me solutions, I felt that your solution, although you gave the most maybe detailed, answer about the problem with that age group, but you kind of like went a little bit off on your solutions. It just kind of like you threw me off. I was expecting much more sophisticated answers to that age group in particular. But you end up doing the answer for that age group. But let's talk about it, inshallah, in details as we come to the next session. Before we take the break, I have the last slide for you over here as a feedback from you. I want to now, regardless of the topic we discussed, bear with me, Jama'ah. Sheikh Muhammad, stay with me. So, as a feedback right now on what we did right now, regardless of the topic that we discussed, I want to hear from you in regard to the adult education and training about this experience that we had right now together. Let's talk about the audience. What did you guys learn about the audience, which is you? What did you learn about them? Yes, huh? They have experience. You're not the only one who knows what's going on. You can learn from other people. That's very important. Adults, they actually have come with experience, and you have to expect that. So when you talk, it's not just what you have. It's not your point. You need to kind of like humble yourself to expect other people to bring another expertise. Maybe disagreement, maybe this or that. You have to accept that. That's one thing. What else? Yes? Easy to communicate when you have a social connection. You can relate quickly once you know their names, their backgrounds, how much they know, which is why you had that icebreaker at the beginning. Because if you don't know them, you will be hesitant to say what you have because you kind of feel kind of awkward if they know or not. But now it makes it easier for you. Yes? Diversity. They bring with them a lot of expertise from different age group, culture, subculture, and so on. You can benefit a lot from each other. Yes? Absolutely. When you know that you have all these talents, can you imagine the outcome? This is basically a brainstorming session over here that can be just a brilliant asset for our communities. Imagine when you do this in your own masjid, which is your localities. So that's why we say networking. Now you know each other. You might invite one of them to come to your masjid to talk, probably, because they know something very unique. Okay, what else? Yes, you had something to say about the audience? Wonderful. What I really have noticed also about our audience usually, you need to understand that the audience, subhanAllah, mashallah, they have a lot of experience. They want to engage. We have the perception that the audience, when they come to attend our halaqat, they're very passive, which means that they sit down and listen, and that's it. No, it's not. Even Jum'ah, when they have to be quiet, a lot of them, while you're giving the khutbah, they have the urgency of interrupting you probably. But they know if they do, they have to be quiet, so that's why they keep quiet. You need to expect outside of the khutbah, people they love to engage. So engage them. Make your program engaging people, like what we do over here right now. Also creative. You're not the only one who's smart in this area. They are very creative. And the last one here, being active. They love to have active learning. Taib, what about the educator? The educator, the one who's presenting. Forget it's me. Anyone who's basically in adult education, what do you learn about the educator? You feeling shy to criticize? Or maybe compliment? Yes. Willing to listen? So you have to know that you need to listen as an educator more than just speaking. What else? Yes. He learns as well. I take notes when you guys say something because I'm going to benefit from this tomorrow. So I'm learning with you as much as I'm actually helping you to learn right now. Yes?
I think we see the top educators, they visit the whole world to explore how people learn. But somehow we are still limited to one or two models.
Mm-hmm.
So the more we diversify, the more we...
So our educators need to be diverse and also very expansive in terms of their experience. I agree with you. And also that, by the way, that also comes with the age factor as well. As we get older, we have visited a lot of activities, programs, experiences, and we share with that. We share people with people. Yes. Facilitates. No. Exactly. I'm just a facilitator. I'm not the only source of knowledge. You guys are the source of knowledge. I'm just a facilitator over here. So I only kind of like manage the talking, the learning experience for you. Yes?
Yes, 2 points. One is that we make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is that we need to keep learning all the time.
We can always learning. Even as a teacher, I make mistakes. I admit if I made mistake with anybody, I'm going to have to actually learn as well, too. Yes?
Professional help, right? So when we think about, something to train the trainer.
Yes.
I think we're qualified imams, we're qualified counselors, but we really our experience, our knowledge is at a basic level. And we tend to kind of train ourselves and learn from other masajid versus getting someone professional to do what really needs to be done.
As an imam, I don't have to do all the programs, but I would like to manage my resources. If I know someone expert in, let's say, civil rights issues, I'll bring him to speak. I don't have to speak. If I know the community needs some serious emotional counseling, I bring a counselor. I'll be on the side. So I need to use also all the resources that I have as well, which is something very important for us. Last point, Inshallah. Go ahead. The teacher being the expert on the subject matter. It's okay, but not necessarily the only expert. You have to expect yourself as an imam or a da'i or a speaker that in the crowd there might be people who are much more knowledgeable than you. So therefore you benefit from them. You facilitate that knowledge to be transferred to other people. Let me give an example. I took a class, a master's degree class in history as well, and actually when I used to study in El Paso, Texas. SubhanAllah, the teacher of our class, which was about transnational history, was the dean of history department of the school, the university. So he's the top guy in history in the area, in the school. And I was a student in that classroom. We were about maybe 20 students, or less than 20 students actually, maybe about 12 students, you could say. SubhanAllah, each session is 4 hours. One of the sessions about transnational history happens to be on Hajj. Hajj. Speak about Hajj, basically. So, and he's the dean of history, imagine. So when it was the time to speak about Hajj, he said, hey guys, you need to understand, although I'm the dean of history, blah, 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 but Yaser, speaking about me, he goes, Yaser, he is an imam, he's Muslim, he knows Hajj more than I did. How many times you did Hajj? You visited Mecca? I said, I did that many years. At the time it was 5 times. He said 5 times. So he's more expert on the subject than me. Therefore, he's going to teach us today about Hajj and the transnational phenomena of Hajj. Here you go. He gave me the 4 hours. And I was just a student. But for him, I was a resource. And that's exactly as an imam what you need to do for your community. Who are your resources? You need to look into that, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. The last 2 things. Subject. What about the subject we discussed today? What do you guys think about the subject? Huh? Very important. It's the most critical subject for every mosque, but we cannot turn our eyes away because we don't know what to do with it. But it's real, it's relevant, right? What else? It's for that reason you guys got engaged. Because it's something, it's real. It is a problem for all of us. But if I'm going to always bring topics in my masjid for the halaqah, something that is kind of like not necessarily immediate need, your people would not come. You need to create immediate needs for people to come, and then as a supplement, you add the other programs and other activities. The last thing, teaching style. What we did right now about the teaching process, what did we learn? Yes. Skills, structure, and how was it structured in terms of time-wise? I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but you've been sitting down here for 2 hours. Did you notice that? Probably not, because it was broken down to different segments, and you only thought of every segment as an independent session, only to realize, oh my God, 2 hours? But you don't notice that. So this is how you structure it, but this is how you make people actually enjoy the programming. Also, it was more interesting, and it's two-way discussion. It's not just one-way lecturing, it's two-way discussion. Inshallah ta'ala, when we come back from 10 minutes break with Allah Azza wa Jal, I want you to go refresh, move around, make wudu. Inshallah, we're going to discuss how do adults learn. In the next session, inshallah, we will define what adult teaching is. It means the difference between teaching adults and children, the 6 main principles of teaching adults, the main methods of receiving knowledge, and how do you measure that the audience is learning. We're going to discuss that in the next session, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. 10 minutes break. Outcome after finishing these 17 slides, inshallah, we will be able to differentiate between teaching children and teaching adults. What's the big difference between them? And we'll learn the 6 main principles of adult education. There are 6 main articles for adult education. The main methods of receiving knowledge. How do people learn? How do we learn as human beings, specifically adults? And how, as a speaker, how would you measure if your audience learned or not? What is the outcome? We're going to discuss this, inshallah ta'ala, here, bidnillah azza wa jal. The first thing is learning about the term itself. The term that we use for this kind of field of knowledge is called andragogy. It's a kind of like weird name, but eventually that's how they design these names for these actually kind of sciences. It's called andragogy. Andragogy is about teaching adults. So we're going to learn how adults learn, what are the means of learning, and how we measure a learning experience, if it was successful or not, inshallah ta'ala. Andragogy, in the definition of the word andragogy, they say it's the science and art of teaching adults. So they use the term science and art. What's the difference? Science, that means it's experimental, meaning you can experiment that, you can measure it, you can try it, and you have database to show that it's successful. The methods of teaching adults can be measured. The second thing is art. And what's the meaning of art? Creativity. So there is so much you could do with as a speaker yourself, because it goes back to your artistic mind. How can you be creative in designing the learning experience? But it's also measurable, which means you do have solid database you could use, solid information, methodologies, and so on that you could use, and also have a lot of experience. You could use your experience and artistic mind to be creative in designing this. This is the main issue, the main thing about adult education. How is it different? If you have the book or one of the handouts, I don't know if you have received this, guys. It's in the back there on those actually tables. If you haven't received it, it's there. So we have a whole print out for you that says principles of pedagogy or pedagogy versus andragogy. Pedagogy or pedagogy is actually teaching children. And andragogy is teaching adults. What's the difference? Big difference. Big difference. So I'm going to just read three of them for you, and you can read that, inshallah, at home, and learn the difference between how adults learn and how children learn. In terms of children, children depend upon adults for material support, psychological support, and life management. They are other-directed. That's why when you go to school, teachers, they keep saying, single file, come over here, sit down here, time for recess, put your book down, blah, 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 blah. That's for children. You can't do this with adults. You cannot do this with adults. Why? Because adults depend upon themselves. Adults expect to be treated like adults. And for material support and life management. They also actually still need some help with psychological influence and maybe support and so on. But still, they're considered self-directed. Our people, when they come to learn, they want to learn. Not like the children. We have to teach them. You can't force an adult to learn if he or she is blocking their mind and they don't want to learn. That's a big difference. Number 2, children perceive one of their major roles in life to be that of a learner. As kids, they know themselves as what? Learner. They're going to spend a lot of time learning. They expect that. But adults, not necessarily. We expect ourselves to be doers. I mean, I don't have time to sit down and read a book. I'd rather watch a video or listen to a lecture while I'm driving. Why? Because I'd rather use my time for something much more practical. So we're more pragmatic. We want to do things instead of just, learning and hearing things and so on. And that's why when we teach adults, we have to engage in activity. Children, to a large degree, learn what they are told to learn. Kids, we tell them 1 + 1 = 2, they know. Khalas, 1 + 1 = 2. Adults, you tell them 1 + 1 = 2, they're going to say why. They want to know why. Even if it's a fact, but they still want to be more active in learning, and the knowledge that they're receiving and so on. Now, hold on. Please.
I know because from my experience.
Now. Yes.
It's now they ask why.
True. That's why. Why they're asking why? Because generations are actually, the generation gap is shrinking in terms of knowledge and age group. How is that? حديث النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عمري ما فهمت حديث النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من علامات الساعة تقارب الزمان. علامات الساعة, one of the signs of the day of judgment, تقارب الزمان. Time shrinks. I never really understood what does it mean exactly. والأهلة تكبر وكذا. I never understood that. سبحان الله لغاية لما عشنا بهذا الزمان. Living in this time. Back in the days, when we used to say, back in the days, when was that? Maybe 20, 30 years ago, right? That was 20, 30 years ago. Every generation takes 20, 30 years, almost. Al-an, with technology, and how much these kids actually get exposed to things we've never been exposed to from before, Al-an, the generation gap is shrinking. From 10 years to 5 years, even less than that. The other day, I was giving a presentation at college. So one of the kids came to me, and he said, Sheikh, back in the days when I was in high school. And I'm like, how old are you exactly? He's still in 3rd or 2nd year in college, and he's telling me back in the days in high school, we never had that, we never did that. But subhanAllah, I agree with you. The perception of why is changing because the younger generation right now is actually skipping phases. We're skipping phases right now. We're skipping. We don't walk, actually, we skip right now. So that's why they need the why. Yes.
But this is not only due to advance in technology and so on, because I don't know, I find the same issue with my 2-year-old grandson. He was asking why. He didn't have everything he asked why.
Maybe he's living with adults.
Of course he is.
Because in my case, I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I have 18, 16, 14, and then 6.5 years old. So the younger one, she grew up with teenagers and with all the young adults, you could say. She's already behaving like them. She likes to debate. And even with sometimes we'll be driving home and she's in the back seat. She doesn't even see where I'm going. But she just wants to do a debate with me. She goes, Baba, I don't think this is the way we go home. I'm like, Baba, no, that's the way to go home. She goes, no, I don't think so. And I'm just like, if I take this as a fact, I'm going to fight with her. But I know she just wants to engage in a conversation. That's why the culture has changed. The culture of the children is changing. So I definitely agree with you. Most of these statements might be theoretical, like I said. And they're subject to adaptation based on the culture, the generation, the time, the environment. So these are just for us to read, to see the perception, and we can definitely develop our own perception and theories about it based on our personal experience. I agree with you 100% on that. So I'm not going to actually spend much time on this because I want you to read it on your own, inshallah ta'ala. But I just want you to know one thing. Teaching adults is much different than teaching children. So whenever you design your program, make sure that you have on your mind the andragogy principles. And what are these principles? There are 6 principles. 6 principles for teaching adults. If you understand them well, you will be able to design your program in the most effective way, inshallah tabaraka wa ta'ala. What are they? Number 1. And by the way, they might overlap for somebody, and you might see them overlapping and so it's okay, inshallah tabaraka wa ta'ala, that's fine. Number 1, they say adults have a self-concept of a self-directing personality They learn based on their individual definition of who they are and the roles they play in life. Give an example. I teach women in my masjid, and mashallah, every week we have about 100 sisters attend the programs. And these sisters, they come from different backgrounds, different age groups, different culture, and different subculture, you name it. They come from different actual perspectives. I teach a certain subject. For instance, if I ask a question, if I now present the subject of ghiba, backbiting, for example, what do you expect? What do you expect a question a young lady who is between 25 to 34, what kind of question you predict she will ask? She's married. What question most likely she will be asked in regard to the subject of ghiba? Yes?
She might say, can we do it if it's true?
Can we do it if it's true? Why? That's what women do. That's okay, but that's very general. But something, remember, they define themselves in a certain way. So when they ask their questions, they're based on what they perceive themselves in real context. What could it be? Yes. Can I talk to my mom about, not just my mom, my friends, about the problems I have with my husband? Would that be considered ghiba? So what is more specific that most young women, they have a problem with?
I don't think this is what I'm doing is ghiba. I'm just telling you what happened. And
basically, they would ask you, is it okay, if it is, they kind of ask the question like this, Sheikh, what is the ruling on speaking, to someone else about your problems that you might have with family members, but you don't want to hurt their feelings and this and that and so on and so. What do they mean by that? The mother-in-law. They're asking about the mother-in-law. This is a very common question. Every time we talk about ghiba in women's setting, our lady of that age group will most likely ask this question. Because that's how she defines herself, a daughter-in-law. But if you see someone, a lady, she is between 50 to 60 plus years old. What is her question on the subject? Huh? She would say, is it allowed, don't you think it's not right for a woman, for somebody to talk about other people, family members to others because it might cause fitna, blah, 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 blah. And she's talking about whom? Daughter-in-law. SubhanAllah, the subject you're discussing is the exact same subject, but each woman, because of her age group, she actually defined the subject based on her personal context. Based on that, as a teacher, as an instructor, as an imam, whatever that you do when you come to teaching adults, you have to understand your audience. Who is it that comes to your class? Who are they? How do they define themselves? And when people define themselves, they define themselves in many, many ways. Like what? How people define themselves? They define themselves in terms of goals. People define themselves in terms of goals. What do they want to achieve? We talked about the 24 to 35 years old age group, which is the professionals, right? Young professionals. They define themselves of being young professionals more than anything else. As a teacher, you need to be able to understand, recognize. Exactly. So you know that these people will learn based on the definition of themselves. Yani, if someone defines himself to be religious first, young professional second, you're going to design the class to them differently. But if somebody is defining himself or herself as being young professional first, and then religious second, you're going to have to design it in a different way. Why? Because again, they will take the information you give them in a certain way. Which is why we have a problem with what, ya jama'ah? What do we call it? Interpretation. You misunderstood me. No, I didn't mean that. Well, I know it, but this is how people will define the ilm and the knowledge that you teach. So that's something we need to keep in mind, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. Also, people define themselves by trying to choose how to learn. Yani most of these young professionals who don't come to our masajid, do you guys think they're not learning their deen? They do. But where? They go to Google. They watch videos. And if we ask them, they are already subscribed to some podcast by Bayina, Al-Maghrib Institute, this and that and so on. They listen probably to Sheikh Mink more than anybody else probably. So basically, these people, this young generation, that young particular group, wants to learn its own way. Also, when you have younger generations, there's something, they have an issue with that as well. An older generation, they want to learn a different way as well. Like they want to learn by teaching, for example. There are different ways of learning. People, they were also, when they learn, they evaluate themselves in a certain way, based on how they define themselves. You know the story of the man who came praying behind Mu'adh radiallahu anhu, and Mu'adh, he prolonged the salah. He complained about him to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam tell him? He says, what do you say in your salah anyway? I mean, he said to the Prophet first, he said, قال يا رسول الله, what I do is basically, I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I praise Allah azza wa jalla, and I ask for the khair of the dunya and the akhirah, and that's it. And honestly, I don't understand, لا أفهم دندنتك ولا دندنة معاذ. You know, whatever that you hum, the humming of you and your Mu'adh, it's too much for me. The Prophet ﷺ said, what exactly you do? And he told him, then, حَوْلَهَا نُدَندِن. Me and Mu'adh, we just humming around it. Like we're the same thing too. But what's the difference? The man defined himself as being what? قال يا رسول الله, we're Bedouins. We graze camels in the desert. We do that stuff and so on. So, I mean, this is too much for us. This is too much for us. But subhanAllah, sometimes as imams, that's what we do. We kind of like put everything down there. There's a story I learned from actually a priest. He said there was a pastor actually. A pastor, he said that, or a priest, whatever. He was in a village. People, they didn't come to the church. So he started getting frustrated. One of those Sundays, he had only one person, one fallah, one, those villagers coming and sitting there in the front and no one else in the church. So the priest, you could say that he was frustrated. He was kind of like upset. Where are the people? So then this guy, he says, Father, I don't know much about preaching and talking and da'wah and this and that and so on, but I know that I have cows in my field. So when I put the feeding, basically he says, I just put the feeding, even if one cow comes in, I'll just still feed her. So the man got motivated, the priest got motivated. So teaching and preaching and teaching and preaching took forever. After some time, that villager, he got kind of interrupted the priest. Excuse me. He goes, yes. He goes, Father, I don't understand much of what you're saying, this and that, and so, but I'm a villager, I'm a farmer. And usually when I have one cow comes for feeding, I don't dump the whole hay down there, yani. Like, I put enough for it. Sometimes as imams, we say that the halaqah is 1 hour. And we have to talk for an entire hour. But why? Is it because this is how you measure your program of success, that I have an hour to give a halaqah between Maghrib and Isha? What if only 3 people come? I've learned from Sheikh Al-Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala that public events don't take more than 20-25 minutes of speaking and the rest of it Q&A. But when he gives a specific classes for his students, we sit from the Maghrib until after Isha, because that's a specific group of students that come to study. So we're going to have to actually to see how people define themselves in life, and then based on that, we start actually giving them these classes. Next, the second principle. Adults bring a wealth of experience to the learning process. We've seen that in this example, in this activity we had together, right? You guys, mashallah, you are great resource for the ummah. Wallahi. Imagine if each and every one of you just, shared that experience in writing in one platform. We will have an entire reservoir of experience that all can benefit from. Imagine. This can apply to each and every masjid, every setting of education that you give. If you ask people about their expertise, you will realize, wow, I have a wealth of expertise in one area, mashallah, that can change the world. Subhanallah. It can change the world. So people, they come with that experience. Don't expect to be the only expert in that field. And subhanallah, I've also learned that from our mashayikh too. From Sheikh Al-Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala, every now and then when there's a subject active, when he was talking about some community activities and this and that, he would ask the students, who is from that region? So one time they were talking about, at the time it was actually Central Asia. He asked, who is from there? So we had people from Tajikistan and Kazakhstan. He asked them to get up and talk about the condition of the Muslims over there. He considered them to be expert. Instead of him talking about the condition of the ummah there, let them talk about it. And wallahi, that was a humbling moment from a man of his age and his expertise and his ilm, subhanallah. You learn a lot from that. So you have a lot of actual experience. Build on it. Meaning, make sure that you do so. Also, your audience, when they come with that foundation. And that foundation, they need to build on top of it. You don't start from scratch. No, they need to actually start building on top of it. So you need to kind of like, learn to start first of all, testing the base knowledge of their audience. You start your class by asking, okay, what do you guys, how many of you have done this? What do you do this about that? How many of this? How many of that? So basically, you start with the base knowledge, and then based on that, you start designing the talk for that. Whether you do this as a survey before the entire program, or you do a question and answers right before you start the session, and then you start actually making that session afterwards. One thing that we want to learn actually, subhanallah, يعني النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الناس معادن كمعادن يعني كالذهب والفضة خيارهم في الجاهلية خيارهم في الإسلام إذا إيش فقهوا. So the people are precious like precious يعني gemstones. They're very precious material. They are good in Jahiliyyah, they become good in Islam if they have the right understanding. Which means you don't negate all their expertise. يعني النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لما جاء خالد بن الوليد رضي الله عنه خالد رضي الله عنه قاتل وحارب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وكان سبب في قتل المسلمين في أحد. He just the one who fought against the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, caused the casualties in Uhud and so on. So all these things, right? 7 years later, after the Hijrah, 7 years, he becomes Muslim. What did the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم call him when he came back from Mu'tah? Saifullah. And he became a general. Why? Because خلاص, this is expertise. He learns with the people through leadership positions as well. So when people have experience, what do you expect from them as an educator? To share, to challenge, to question you, to debate with you. You need to expect that. Exactly. But if you're going to be speaking there and expect everybody to say سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير, you would dream about it. People, they need to learn by also sharing what they have, and might sometimes challenge what you do, what you present. Be cool. Be okay with that. I mean, expect that. Don't be surprised when someone comes and says, listen, I don't agree with you on this. It's okay. If it's a matter of haqq and batil, yes, we will see where there are haqq and batil there. But if it's a matter of disagreement, we have the right to disagree with each other. So expect questions from them, not just them listening to you all the time. Respect their intellect. You don't come to the adults and speak to them like speaking to children. So you're going to have to respect their intellect and their expertise as well. And speak the language, of course, of being equal to them and sharing with them. You're not going to talk to them like saying, you guys, listen to me, blah, blah, blah. Instead you say, we, us, all of us, as imams, like a language that I'm using with you right now, I'm not using it actually just because I want to just teach you that. It's because I do believe in it. I believe I'm not one of you. I'm not just like on top of you. No, I'm one of you. I learn as much as I also teach as well. And we're going to share the experience together, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. So again, this principle number 2, they have the knowledge, so they like to collaborate. They like to work together in teams. And that's why most of my teaching in my masjid requires workshop together. I don't know how many of you watch my social media and online. We do a lot of parenting workshop in our masjid because that's what people need in our masjid, subhanAllah. So we do that, and we have quite a good attendance, but we always begin with collaboration. They have to engage in activity, and then we start giving them the presentation like we do over here. Number 3, the third principles of adult education. Adults come to the learning process ready to learn. They come with the need to learn. What does that mean? The difference between children and adults in terms of learning is that the motivation and the need to learn by adults is intrinsic. Yani it's an internal value. They don't need an external motivation for them to learn. Yani I know that we always think that food brings the people to learn and this and that. It's okay. Sometimes it works with many, many people. It works with a lot of other age groups. But when someone of that critical age group we will be talking about, 25 to 34 and so on, so they want to learn, you don't have to bring food for them to learn. Because if they want it to learn, they need to know that they need it. The value of learning is there for them. So therefore, you need to make sure that you don't undermine that need by trivializing it. They come to learn. So when they come and tell, like for example, I was talking to Sheikh, one of the mashayikh who actually believe left. He said that basically that he has his fiqh class, his specific, specialized fiqh class on Sunday after Fajr. I said, do they come? He said, yes, of course they come. I said, who comes? Those who want to learn, those who need to learn. If you do the same class after Maghrib, how many people will attend? Not much. But because they need to learn it, they come even if the time was difficult, but still for them, it's critical time to learn. So, as a principle, subhanAllah, an example from the Quran to show us how adults, they have the need to learn. The example of Abasa wa Tawalla. When Abdullah ibn Maktoum came to the Prophet ﷺ, why did he come to the Prophet ﷺ? Because he needs to learn. Even though the Prophet was busy, but he has the eagerness and he wants to learn from the source, from the Prophet ﷺ. Another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ was given the khutbah on the minbar. A man comes in. قال يا رسول الله رجل يسأل عن دينه لا يدري ما دينه. A man is asked about his deen. He has no idea what his deen is. The Prophet ﷺ interrupted the khutbah. He came down. فجاء للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بكرسي قال الراوي كأن قوائمه حديد. He said they brought him a steel, chair, like frame made of steel. فجلس النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. He started talking to him and discussing with him حتى رضي. And then he came to finish the khutbah صلى الله عليه وسلم. Adults, they come with the need to learn. We need to expect that, and we need to realize when there's so for us as educators, what do I need to do to bring people to learn? What do you guys think, based on this principle?
Before you go to that point, I was going to say, I kind of feel like it's the opposite of what you're saying. I'm not saying you're wrong. I feel like a lot of adults are arrogant, and they feel like you already know already, so they won't come. I don't know if that is to me.
Absolutely. Of course we experience that. A lot of them, they think they know everything. But what is the problem? Me as an educator, I'm not creating the true opportunity for them to learn. And whenever someone comes to me like with arrogance that they know everything and they would, subhanAllah, I have to create the opportunity and the need for them to learn it. And for example, marriage counseling. If there's anything that is so difficult for men to accept, is to come for counseling. Because most men send their wives. No, you have the problem, you're going to talk to him if you want to. I'm not going to go for marriage counseling. It's ego issue, it's this and that and so on. So most of my clients, usually actually women. And women, they come to me and they say, but my husband doesn't want to come. I said, if you're interested, come, let's talk together, let's discuss this together, inshallah ta'ala. I guarantee you, he will come. So alhamdulillah, I had a lot of success in that. Husbands, they don't come in the first 2 sessions, but the 3rd, 4th, 5th session, the wife will say, you know what, miracle happens, husband's coming. One of the times actually I discussed that with a guy who came after 4 sessions with his wife. She said he would never come, subhanAllah. So I asked him, what changed your mind? He goes, I don't know what you've been telling her, but I want to let you know that it's working. He said, therefore I came to learn and see what exactly you've been telling her. I created the need for him to learn. One case that was high profile case, very high profile case. I don't want to mention the people, but very high profile case. The lady, she said, it's impossible. There is no way he would come to counseling. He would never accept that because of his status. I said, sure, never mind. You could come with me, inshallah. We discuss this together. So we had about 3-4 sessions with her. And one time I remember checking my emails at night. And I read this email. I can feel that she was screaming while she's actually writing the email. Like, oh my God, he's coming. I don't believe it. It's a miracle. Just like this, typing all that stuff in an email. And the guy came. Why? Because the need to learn was created. Even with the most arrogant, egoistic person, if you create the right need to learn, they will come. For example, the young guys you mentioned, they don't come, such as young adults who have children, young kids, and so on. Why don't they come? Because they're busy, scheduled, this and that, and so on, right? Guess what we did for them? We did some presentations, some programs, some specific programs for them, designed only for them. Like what? The masjid provides professional babysitting service for 4 hours for a dinner, basically a date night, with your spouse. 70 people signed up. They dropped their kids off in the masjid. We have a professional baby care. We hired the whole staff of baby care, professional actually daycare staff in the masjid. They brought their things and so on and so. And these young parents, they dropped off their kids. And they went out actually on a dinner date. And they came back to pick up their kids. But they spent a lot of time chit-chatting in the masjid lobby and outside the masjid and this and that and so on and so. And subhanAllah, was very relaxing. Another thing we did for them, story time. Story time. One of the sisters, she does a story time every week. And these ladies, they come with their babies. When we do halaqat and programs, we have babysitting in every halaqah, every program that we have in the masjid. Professional babysitting for different ages. So the kids are actually being taken care of, and parents and men and women, they come and attend. If you provide the service that makes these people busy from coming to the masjid, they will come. They say in leadership, they say, if you build it, they will come. So if we design the program for them in the right way, if we create the need for them to come, they will definitely come. So it's a matter of, I agree, some of them, not everybody, we cannot succeed with everybody. Let's put it this way.
Your example doesn't really talk about arrogance, talk about helping people out in their busyness of their life. That person can still be arrogant, right? Or still like, I don't need to learn. I've done a fit class on that, like that from my home day. We're not kids anymore. Why are we having this class for?
Here's the thing.
And I told them,
Guidance is not the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, me and you. What is our job? Create the opportunity to be guided. We create the opportunity for them to be guided. That's all. Most of us as da'iyas, as imams, as speakers, we put so much effort in trying to guide people. But that is not my business. My business is only to create the opportunity for them to be guided. That's it. Guidance comes from the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes. Yes, a couple of weeks ago I read research about the story for sleep, and the research, they say this formulate the personality of the person when they make a decision. So I think to build a young man or adult, you have to start with him when he is still young, like the story for sleep.
True, but what if we come late in their lives? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create the need for them. We need to create the need for them to learn so they could come. Yes.
Some of the examples in my community, we change that very quickly. So every 2 or 3 years it changes. And I was looking for the last 10 years, so about 40 minutes. Every single time they come, they do a class on the Hara every Saturday night. It's almost every single time they come, and it's kind of like it's almost a program. This is the most important thing. We're going to learn about the Hara, we're going to learn about the Hara. So the community, they almost not expecting it. So the man comes, he's like, you guys Saturday class, but the Hara again. And so it's not necessarily that they know that they can teach it, but it just sometimes we need to step out of the conventional, everyday thing and just need to trust.
One time I heard from a sheikh about studying tahara. So the problem with us teachers and du'a and fuqaha, when we teach people, fiqh, what do? We don't have the stamina to continue for a long time because most of our audience, kind of diminishes and fades out after some time. So he says we always start, Bismillah. We're going to start with fiqh class, inshallah ta'ala, starting with kitab al-tahara. So we start with kitab al-tahara, obviously niyat, of course, intentions, and then al-tahara. And then what do we study in the tahara book? The first thing we do what? Al-miyah, anwa' al-miyah. We drown there, we never go out of it. نغرق في باب المياه. يقول, then later on we start the class again. Okay, tahara, we go back again from the beginning. And when we start miyah, and then we drown over there, we never come out of it, subhanAllah. For some reason, like you said, because it's repetition, people, they don't see the need. We as imams, we see that people need to learn tahara because when we go to the bathroom, it's a mess. And I agree with you. But we need to create the need for them to understand why is this so important. If, for adults, you can collect and connect the physical need to be tahir with the spiritual need, they will come. Like for example, Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah ta'ala, he classifies tahara in 5 stages. Taharatul hiss, taharatul badan, first of all. ثم طهارة الأعمال. ثم طهارة القلب. ثم طهارة طهارة الخاطر، الذهن والعقل ثم طهارة الذات، basically the essence. إنه الإنسان يصل إلى مرحلة إنه ليس فقط فكره، حتى لما يرى أعمال الله سبحانه وتعالى في الدنيا, when there's a disaster, a hurricane, something like that. As a believer, when you get to this level of purity, you see the wisdom of Allah in everything. Subhanallah, that level is so high. But you need to create that need so that they can come to learn about taharatul hiss. Very important. Next, number 4. The 4th principles of adult education and training. Adults are oriented towards immediate application of learned knowledge. What does that mean? If what you're teaching me right now is not practical, I don't know, man. What do I need this for? Sometimes, al-tahara is practical. There is no doubt about it. But it depends on how you present that and how you do it and why they need to learn it, that they need to come for. A lot of people, they have, like we said, the most immediate for us right now is marriage counseling. subhanAllah, issues and parenting and all. This is the immediate things we need for that particular group, for example. Other groups that had also their own issues. Like, for example, when we have seniors in our community, seniors who pass 50 plus years old right now, and they move on and they're retirees. So in this case, what do we do for them? What are the programs that we have for them? What do they need from us? In our masjid in Valley Ranch, we have created a group or a club. We call it the Golden Club. The Golden Club is for seniors. And guess what do we do there? They have actually a monthly meeting where they come to eat. They basically dinner, actually we serve dinner over there, and there's a speech. What kind of speech is that? Speakers, they come and they talk about things related to seniors, such as health issues, spiritual issues. When I teach them a class, I teach a class about salah and tahara that is relevant to them. At that age, how do they make tahara if they have these issues? And this and subhanAllah. So basically they come and mashallah, they enjoy it. They come and they enjoy it. Also, we have the parents who are in their 40s plus. Those parents, for example, they need to deal with youth. They need to deal with their teenagers. So we have another program in our masjid, we call it Parents Support Group. In addition to the parenting classes that I give, there's a parent support group supervised by another brother who is only just there to bring the parents so they could learn how to handle their kids and issues and so on. Basically, we look what people need, we create that need for them, and we design the program based on that. And if you build it, they will come. Fadal Sheikh Muhammad.
Just with regards to the seniors program, I remember we did it 2 or 3 years ago, and it was successful for a while, and it slowed down. And then when we tried to do it again, one of the biggest challenges was transportation. Providing transportation.
Absolutely.
Another big challenge was they come sometimes, it was very hard because they don't get along.
Yes.
So we have all these fights, and it's very awkward for either an facilitator to try to mitigate the situation, calm them down.
So guess who's the facilitator for us at the Golden Club? One of them. No. So they respect each other for that, yani. So as part of that transportation, an interesting thing I saw in a masjid in Seattle, mashallah. Guess what they have? They have 2 shuttles. They bought 2 shuttles for Salat al-Jum'ah and the activities. When they have seniors, they take the shuttles to go and pick up these seniors from their homes. SubhanAllah, amazing idea. Wallah, I was surprised. I was so impressed. SubhanAllah. Who drives it, I don't know. But I know they have 2 shuttles to bring these adults, mashallah, to come to these classes. Right, so we know right now that adults, they need something practical and less abstract. Yani our Ibn Jama'ah, let me give you this. Even when you teach them Aqidah, for example, you want to teach a class on Asma'ullah al-Husna. Asma'ullah al-Husna. There's a difference between discussing Asma'ullah al-Husna from a theological perspective and debates between Ahl al-Sunnah, Ahl al-Athar, wa ghayruhum wa kada ila akhirih, and the application of Asma'ullah al-Husna in my life. Yani, the best example I gave you for the application is al-Mu'minin Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha. al-Mu'minin Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha قالت قال الله تبارك في قول الله تبارك وتعالى قد سمع الله قول التي تجادلك في زوجها وتشتكي إلى الله والله يسمع تحاوركما. يعني قالت في هذه الآية سبحان الله تقول سبحان من وسع سمعه الأصوات. She says, praise be to Allah Azza wa Jal. الذي وسع سمعه الأصوات, who's hearing in a way that suits His Majesty Subhanahu wa Taala, that can encompass all these sounds and all these voices and so on. And then she ماذا قالت؟ قالت والله إني في طرف الغرفة. I'm in the corner of the room. When the lady was talking to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وإنه لا يخفى علي بعض ما تقول وأسمع ما تقول. يعني I couldn't catch everything she was saying. But Allah says, قد سمع الله. So Allah, when you teach the adults how to apply these names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala into their lives in a way that is spiritual, it is more effective than just debating the meaning and that. So you have to. Also, doesn't mean you don't teach them the theological aspect of it, but the focus on what they need the most. For example, which age group most likely would be entertained and would be much more interested in learning the theological aspect of Asma Allah al-Husna? Which age group? College, the younger ones, exactly. But the older one, like in the 40s and up, they want the spiritual aspect of it. They need that. So that's something we could look into it. Even the most theoretical or abstract subject you can think of, it can still be practical if you design it in a way to have an immediate effect, an immediate application in their lives. طيب. Number 5, adults need to know the reason for learning something. It has to be individually concerning them. What does that mean? Like, I'm giving you adult education and training, right? Each one of you come from a different background, different expertise, different, job, and so on and so on. So each one of you right now is focusing on a different level with me. Some of you are paying attention very well, and they're taking notes. And some of you are just being entertained with what we're talking about. Why is that? Because some of you are more attached to teaching adults than others. So here, people, they need to know why they're learning this for. So if you cannot concern the people with that particular subject as individuals, what they need that for, you will lose a lot of them. Like on the khutbah, for example. On the khutbah. يعني الكلام على الصلاة مثلا. الكلام على الصلاة. تبدأ الخطبة بالكلام على الصلاة. أهمية الصلاة. How can I concern the people about salah? You have to let them know that, do you know or don't you know that the first question on the day of judgment will be about salah? It doesn't matter how much you give. It doesn't matter how much you do. It doesn't matter how much this. The first question that Allah will ask you about will be about your salah. Now, thoroughly, everybody knows it's my concern right now. You have to try your best in making whatever subject you teach very relevant to each age group. And sometimes you're going to have to diversify that as we talk. Inshallah, when we discuss this in details at the end of the seminar, inshallah, we have a whole session on how to make your presentation most effective, inshallah. طيب, number 6. I'm trying to kind of like move faster, inshallah, حتى we cover the whole material in the right time. Adults are driven by intrinsic motivation to learn. They need to be motivated and inspired. They need to be motivated and inspired, which means stop worrying about bringing external factors. Like we have some example suggestions, let's have a basketball in a tournament, let's bring video, let's bring this, let's bring that, all that stuff and so on. You know what? It doesn't have to be that way. For example, with these young adults, guess what I do personally? Instead of me doing a basketball tournament in the masjid to bring them in, I go and play basketball with them on Saturday and Sunday morning at the gym. 24 Fitness, not even actually the masjid gym. I go and play with them. And then when we take a break, we sit down, we start talking and chit-chatting and do the guidance part, or at least the invitation part in that time. You see, the Prophet ﷺ never brought the Sahaba to sit down and give a halaqah. Even when they were waiting to dig the grave of an individual who died and passed away, the Prophet gave them the hadith that we all now know, that's the journey of the soul. He was just sitting there. وَفِي يَدِهِ عُودْ يَنْكُتُ بِهِ الْأَرْضِ ثُمَّ قَالَ إِنَّ الرُّوحِ. Then he starts saying, the ruh, the soul, when it comes out like this. It wasn't even a prepared class or lecture. It just happened. So we need to understand people willing to learn. They're around the Prophet to learn something. When he said something, they will learn. So sometimes when I sit with people in a most casual setting, I make my talk an opportunity for them to listen and learn. So it doesn't have to be with external motivation, but you need to create that need again for them to be motivated, inshallah ta'ala. One last thing, actually, before I forget about number 5, forget to mention something, is that because people, they need to know the reason why they're learning, simply put like this. Every individual who's sitting in your masjid for khutbah al-Jum'ah or the class or the halaqah or the program, the question that is on their mind is why do I need to listen to you? That is the question they have in their mind. Because when they come to Jum'ah, what do they come to Jum'ah for? To fulfill the obligation and move on. That's it. So basically, they're coming for they come for Jum'ah, the vast majority, let's put it this way. They only come to do the fard and move on. إبراء الذمة فقط. Right? That's most of the people come for Jum'ah. So therefore, for me, as a khatib, I want to convince the people that they need to listen to me. That's where the brilliant part comes. And the last part of our presentation will be about this. How you convince the audience to listen to you when you talk to them. Continue right now. Yes, Fadal. Yes.
I find it very challenging
It is very challenging because it's not tangible. And everybody has their own intrinsic motivation. So what do I do then? As a speaker, I need to make sure that when I design my program, I try to meet the intrinsic values of different age groups. In the following part of the class, inshallah, of the presentation, we will talk about the different age groups and what motivates them. So we're going to design that, inshallah. Yes. تفضل. نعم. 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 نعم.
Most of the massages, when you start the khutbah, the khatib starts, what do you find to be true to all? At the end of the khutbah, during the salah, that's just the different. So, I went to, they explained this. The ayah said, تسعى لله, that you have to be the masjid when the khatib starts. Congregation. Now, do I threaten them or tell them?
Here's what we do in our masjid. I'll tell you what we do in our masjid. In our masjid, when I come up on the member, I mean, you said 2 lines will be filled usually in the most masajid, right? When I come on the member in my masjid, I have Sheikh Omar Sulaiman, also my actually assistant imam in the masjid as well, a resident scholar, alhamdulillah. So when we come on the member, the masjid will be half full, not just 2 lines. But why is that? Because they know if they don't come at the beginning of our khutbah, they'll miss a lot. Because the beginning of our khutbah is very inspirational, very motivational, that they don't want to miss it from the beginning. So they come. So فَاسْعَوْا إِلَى ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ صحيح هذا أمر من الله سبحانه وتعالى. Like, as I said, as a speaker, I need to be convincing to these people that it's worth coming early to listen to me. Being an imam, I understand they should obey Allah Azza wa Jal, the ayah is clear, this and that, but I also need to create the opportunities for them to practice it in the right way possible. So how do we do that? This is the presentation. Towards the end, I have inshallah the ABCDEFG style and how to make your khutbah, your speech, your khatira most effective, that people will start coming as early as possible so they don't want to miss part of it. So we're going to discuss that inshallah. Yes?
I wanted to ask about the times that you have mixed audiences.
No.
So how do you balance that with, you have adults, different way that they learn, different motivation, and you also might have, say for example, like people bring their whole family.
No.
So right now I'm in a situation, I started a new halaqah, and most of it is families. So there's mothers, fathers, and a range, age range of the children. So there's even 5, 6 year olds, all the way to like 16.
As we move forward, we're going to see the principles. So let's put it this way. Method of receiving. You said people from different backgrounds, different ages, different age group and so on. So how can I connect in one presentation with an extremely diverse crowd? How is that? People, they have different ways of learning. Some are visual, some are auditory learners, and some are kinesthetic and tactile. So visuals, meaning they learn by observing. They like to watch. They like to read, probably. Some people know they don't like to watch or they like to listen. So they are listeners. So therefore they just sit down, they don't actually take notes, they only just listen. Some other people know if they don't take notes, they don't learn much. So therefore you need to provide them with the handouts and this and that, all these kind of things. So basically the point is people, they learn differently. Let's talk about this in details a little bit, inshallah ta'ala. In terms of visuals, the most active method of learning is al-basar, the most active. However, it's the least that leaves impact for the long term. Yani those who watch videos, in that moment of watching the video, just like, wow. But then ask them later about the video, they will forget. Subhanallah. يعني حتى عندنا نحن يعني في الله سبحانه وتعالى ماذا قال جماعة؟ قال اقرأ للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم صح ولا لا؟ وكذلك الله سبحانه وتعالى يقول فيما يتعلق ب how do we learn as human beings, says والله أخرجكم من بطون أمهاتكم ماذا قال؟ لا تعلمون شيئا. It is He subhanahu wa ta'ala who brought you out of the wombs of your mothers. No, absolutely nothing. لا تعلمون شيئا. ثم قال خليك معي اصبر. ثم قال وجعل لكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة. الله سبحانه خلقنا يعني know nothing بساد الفطرة خلاف الفطرة يعني know nothing لكن أعطانا the tools, the instruments by which we could receive and learn. And Allah began with what? السمع قبل الأبصار. Why? The ulama they say because السمع is the first thing you use and the last one you lose. The first thing you use in the wombs of your mother, you can hear. You hear. And when you die and you're in the grave, the last thing you have a connection with this world is what? Hearing the footsteps of the people as they walk out of the gravesite. Right? So the first one you use and the last one you lose. So listening is actually very important. But visuals, most people they think visuals is what make them learn the most. And some people are actually, they have this, what do you call it, the visual mind. Photographic memory, there you go. They like to hold and just kind of like look at it and memorizing it. And therefore, basically, they always look at it. That's why they say if you're going to memorize the Quran, keep one single copy so that you always have the same pattern and so on. So some people, they're actually visuals. Now, as an imam, I'll come to you inshallah ta'ala. As an imam, as a da'iyah, as a speaker, how can I use a khutbah, a lecture that has no video, no visual aids, but still help people learn visually? How do I do that? Hand gestures, expressions, body movement. When you talk, the khatib stands like this. Inna alhamdulillah, nahmadu. I will have the urgency to pull my phone out. But when I began my khutbah, Inna alhamdulillah, nahmadu wa nasta'inu wa nastaghfiruh, wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa sayyiati a'malina. I'm already engaged. I'm engaging everybody by looking at them. Like I remember we were taught in Medina University, we were taught the khataba style. Al-khatibu yanbaghi an yanzur ila al-amam wa la yanzur ila ahad. That the khatib should always look straight, don't look at anybody. Like don't have eye contact. Like that doesn't work today anymore. People, they need to have eye contact regularly instead of just keep looking like this. وَأَنْ يَحْمِلَ مَعْهُ سَيْفًا أَوْ عَصًا أَوْ كَذا. Hold the sword or the... It doesn't work like this anymore. So we have to make sure that we do engage people visually by being active on the member. I'm not asking you to act, making a show, yani. But at least being active khatib, active speaker, have the hand gestures and so on. The other thing, how do you create an image without even giving them a video to watch? Using the words. Create that mental image. How is that? It says, tasawwur. Imagine. Can you see? You see the words, can you see? Can you imagine? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ذكر هذا في القرآن كثير. تبصرون وذكر تعقلون وذكر تسمعون. لأنه كل هذا حسب ما يتعلم الناس. How people learn, listen, imagine, process. So you need to create a mental image by using different words. Imagine with me. Can you see? I want you to see this with me. Let's have a look at that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال انظروا فلينظروا. Always look. So that's very important as a khatib, as a speaker. You need to engage people. So some people, specifically those people who might they love to imagine, you have to use the words imagine and so on. حتى الجنة رب العباد سبحانه وتعالى ماذا قال يا جماعة؟ صورها في القرآن كأنك تراها. لم يقل حنظلة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال يا رسول الله نكون عندك فنسمع منك حتى كان نرى الجنة والنار رأي عين. May we come to you, we be around you, and then we hear from you like we see the Jannah wa nar ra'y ayn. Look how brilliant the Prophet ﷺ was in creating a mental image for these people, for the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum. The second way people they learn is auditory, which means listening. And we basically when we listen, like I said, it's very important when you listen. Obviously, listening, basically, a lot of people, they like to do that while they just kind of like watch a khatib or that's it, listen. They drive, they want to listen. They don't want to take any action. They want to be engaged in anything, subhanAllah. They want to just listen because for them, they just love to have this you could say, passive way of learning, which is what most people actually they do. Even in a class like this right now, you're listening to me, right? So when you talk to people, Also bring the words such as, hear this. Let's hear that. Let's hear what Allah says in the Quran. Listen to this with me. So the word listening is actually something people they like to.
Not everybody when you're giving a khutbah, not everybody is seeing you, maybe especially sisters. Well, some of the things you say are relevant, but...
It is relevant. It is relevant because the sisters are actually more in the community than the guys. When we have programs, more sisters would come, than the guys, subhanAllah. So you have to give them that visual also. And in our, I don't know about your masajid, Jama'ah, but in our masjid, the men's section, the women's section is not completely separate from the men's section. So they have access to, so you could see. And whenever we have programs, the main musalla is open for both men and women to come in. We leave, of course, some barriers for ladies who would like to be in the conservative side of the crowd, so they can stay there. But eventually, they have access visually to the speakers, to the program, to the activity. They feel actually as part of it as well. Fala, Sheikh.
As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, why do we then start in our slides with the visual? Why do you think it's important to start with the visual rather than the...
I started with the visuals because it's a wrong perception. Because people think visually is how people learn the most. And that's why I said at the beginning here, the most active method of learning is visual learning, but it leaves the least long-term learning experience. And a lot of people, they think, no, I'd like to watch, I'd like to actually have a video. But I tell them, yes, you're going to enjoy watching the video or the clip, but it doesn't leave impact on you. What do people do these days to learn? They use right now the shortest possible videos, Vines, Snapchats, and they call them now fatwas, whatever they call them, like Snapwas, like fatwas on Snapchat. SubhanAllah, people, they want the 10 seconds fatwa and move on. But that's not knowledge. I have a whole active presentation on how the social media has ruined seeking knowledge. It's completely ruined it. Because people who learn and go to Snapchat, they think they learn a lot, but they don't learn much. They only know, but they don't necessarily learn. That's the problem, man. Yes? Oh, go ahead.
I can say, I think it's one of the methods professionally being something meaningful for listening.
Yes.
Because I learned from school that says something as individual is or soul.
That's true. And now it's a video better than 1,000 pictures.
Yes, that's true. Generally, one of the highest people in education on the earth now. They invent, we know all of us, when we chat, if you like something, you raise your thumb up.
Yeah.
If you said, because the people want to feel the sentence.
So the emojis basically were created for those who are visuals. True. And that's exactly what you need to do as a khatib, as a speaker, as a teacher, or whatever that you do. Whenever you talk, you need to help those who are visually oriented learners by being yourself active, moving, always changing, and so on. Also, by using the words that would motivate and stimulate their visual learning, processing, and so on. You have to do that. Same thing with the audio. The way you speak. As a khatib, if you always speak monotone, you're going to fall asleep. I mean, as a khatib, I'm a khatib. I'm a graduate from Medina. And alhamdulillah, da'i, and as a public speaker. I sit in some khutbahs sometimes, and I just like, wallahi, I would feel the urgency of pulling my phone out. To that extent. Because the khatib is not connecting with me. It's not just, she's just kind of speaking way different than what we're supposed to be. We need to, as a khatib, we need to always be like that. Like I said, you have 25 minutes khutbah, you design it in a way that you always keep the audience active in many minutes. Hold on.
Can you give some points in terms of PowerPoints? I see your PowerPoint. I've been told that you're not supposed to put a lot of words on a PowerPoint.
No.
Some people have said 6 words is the limit on the line and so forth. Do you have some general rules for that?
That's a whole different presentation. Not in this presentation. Because I can't give the details on everything. Because even, you see this one, this book over here, the instructional design. This one here, that's about actually how you design everything. Design a program, an activity, a seminar. Even they speak about how to design the room, how to design all that stuff and so on. Also, this book here, The Exceptional Presenter, it also gives you actually tips on how to do that stuff. So, what do you notice about my presentation over here so far? One thing very important, you might not pay attention to it, but it's in subconscious that is making it actually very easy for you to follow with me. What is it? The page number. You realize the progress? Because I know adults, they love benchmarks, achievements. So when you realize we're at, 12 hours, alhamdulillah, 5 more, my slide. You realize that we're coming there. That's exactly the point of it. Also, if you notice, every part that before we start, we have what? A summary of it. I'm setting the expectation for you, what you're going to learn. And when we're done, you're going to see if that expectation was met or not. So basically, you put it in a certain way, in a subconscious. And as I'm speaking, you're subconsciously learning something else that actually intended in the presentation, but it doesn't necessarily spoken in the presentation. So that's stuff that I didn't mention here because I don't have time to talk about actually the design of that thing and so on. There's also another book I would recommend for you. It's about, I didn't bring it with me, subhanAllah, I forgot even the title of it. But it's about designing, when you design a PowerPoint. How do you design a PowerPoint or a poster or something like that? It's more of like a graphic design, but as a khatib, as an imam, I don't need that much. But I read this for entertainment to learn. When I make something, I make it properly. Can you allow me just to take one more, inshallah, comment so we can move on quickly? Yes, please.
PowerPoint, I found that storytelling, studying or the use of art.
Absolutely.
These are really rich areas that bring the attention. It depends how you tell the story or how you tell the situation.
Nah.
Because it involves
Absolutely.
It's very, very strong starting point.
Nah. In part 5, inshallah ta'ala, we have a whole section on how to put the presentation. And your point is going to be there, inshallah ta'ala, as one of the main actually active moments of your presentation. How to share stories with people. You know what the stories that people, they love the most? What stories do you think they love the most? Your personal story. Like people, they come to you after the khutbah, they say, Masha, that was amazing khutbah. And I would say, so what was the most interesting thing about it? They go, you know what that story when the guy told you this and that and so on. So they remember your personal stories. Of course, obviously. Of course, it is related to the subject, of course. It's besides when some people, they give a long khutbah and then they don't pay attention to what you were saying because they were not paying attention. So they come to you and say, wow, that was amazing, a khutbah. So what was it about? They say, it was about 30 minutes. So they only remember the time. They don't remember the content. Allow me just to move a little bit, inshallah, then I'll come back to you, inshallah ta'ala. So because we have 20 minutes before we take a break for lunch and dhuhr, inshallah. So then we have those who learn through basically hands-on experience. Kinesthetic tactile learners. They love to write. They love to take notes. They love to put their hands in the mud, basically. Why people, they learn like that. So these people, you take them to practice with them, whatever that you do. Whether it's a da'wah program, you go with them on the field, go and feed the homeless, retreat, you take them to a camp activity, whatever that is, through activities. People like to read, they like to grab a hard copy of the material, like to take notes, some learn through practicing hand experience, and so on. You need to also do that as well. So, if you give a talk, what would be the point that you are going to use to give these people the opportunity to learn? Action items. You give them action items. Like, therefore, today, before you go home, inshallah, I want each and every one of you to go and do something like this. Call. Buy this book. Say salam to somebody else. This and that and so on and so on. All these kind of things. SubhanAllah, just to give you an idea on how do we do things in our masajid as well. In my masjid, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, we set the tone for Dallas-Fort Worth, alhamdulillah, in terms of activities. We're very proud that people, they say, like Valley Ranch does, for example. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. So one of the things we started is how to socialize in the community in a very simple way. Every now and then, every few weeks, I ask people after Isha to shake hands with each other and get to know each other by name. And we give them 1 or 2 minutes to get to know for a few minutes, and then we start the khatira. SubhanAllah, by then now, people, they knew a lot of people. Also, every time a new member of the community moves into the area, we highlight them, which means we ask the brothers to stand up This brother, what's your name, akhi? Fulan Fulani, where are you from? Where did you move from this and that, blah, blah, blah. Ask the people next to them, get up, give them a big hug, this and that. They feel welcome right away. We get them engaged because, again, that's a learning experience. That's practice right now. So they learn to be kind, to be natural. And subhanAllah, a lot of people, when they come to our masjid, they say, mashallah, it's very friendly, even if I'm not there. Why? Because people, they learn and they practice on their own. So that's something very crucial. Well, the larger the community, the harder it is. You know why? Because there's a rule in communities called the 150 people rule. The 150 people rule is the maximum number where you can have a solid foundation in the community. People, that's scientifically speaking, we can only remember as far as 150 people. More than that, we get lost. That's why the Amish, every time the group gets bigger, they split the village. Because they want to actually have less than 150 or 140. Some companies do the same thing too. Every plant, they don't have a plant that has 2,000 workers. They have smaller plants, each one of them maximum to 150. Because in this case, everybody would know everybody else. So that's something we should create, and that's what we do in our community. It's growing bigger right now. So we try to create circles. I don't want to call them cliques, but when you see people, how people start creating patterns, you develop on these patterns. And you start making these as a group. How do we get that from? There's a rule, actually, there was I remember a university or a school, what they did, brilliant way, when they were constructing the roads and the blocks and everything, before they built the pedestrian concrete paths, what they did, they left it dirt. And they waited for a few weeks. And they saw how students walk, the patterns of their walking. So when they saw the dirt basically being, how it was used by the students already, they realized this is the most convenient pedestrian path. And they built the concrete on top of it. That's a smart way. Same thing in our masajid, we try to do something like this. We see what people do, how do we do things, who are the people in certain circles. We create a subgroup over here. So we can always have connection with each other, and there's a leader in each group, almost you could say, that we connect with one another. Next, evidence of learning. How do you know that what you said, what you did with the people was effective? Three areas. Change needs to happen in one of three areas as an evidence of the learning experience happening. Of course, the perfect learning experience is what? All of them. What are these areas? Number one, cognitive, perception, principles, perception. Number two, emotional, feelings, attachment. Number three, behavioral, the behavior, the practice. So let's explain that a little bit in more detail. Cognitive. What does it mean? If the mental state or the rational material changed in the mind of that learner, you are succeeding. Like what? The learning experience has to result in change in a perception of things. Someone comes to your class believing that you're mubtada'. You're an innovator. If he comes out of that class and says, mashallah, he's on the sunnah. I succeeded, right? Because I changed his perception of it, for example. That's a radical example, don't take it seriously. But I'm saying something like that. When it comes to the issue of adult education and training, some of you might have come to this class skeptical. But now after the first example or first session, it's just like, wow, that's interesting. That's success. Learning is happening right now. But I need more than just the rational or cognitive aspect of learning. Forming new ideas and removing old ones. When it comes to husband and wife, people, they come to me about, counseling. Counseling is also education, by the way. So when husband and wife come to me, the husband is set on his ways. No way, she's wrong. So what do? I have to approach him in a way that is very effective, that will help him see things differently. Suddenly he realized, okay, so there is value in counseling. Alhamdulillah, that's success. Okay, there is value to pay for counseling. Suddenly now the economics, no problem anymore. Because there is value for him in it. And then, they remove old ideas and they're willing to put, new ideas. Here's now an issue with that. Why people don't change easily? Why people don't change easily? As adults, we have two parts of the brain. We have the conscious part and the subconscious part. When I'm speaking to you right now, I'm speaking to which part of Jama'ah? The conscious part. Okay, the conscious part holds the short-term memory. But your subconscious has your archives, all your experiences, all your biases, all your belief systems, all your prejudice, whatever that is, everything is there. Whatever I say, even if it's very interesting, if you don't open the gate between the subconscious and the conscious to seep into the subconscious, to become permanent, it will leave right away. It wouldn't live in a change. But how do I keep it there in the subconscious, in the archive? Repetition, over and over again, over and over again, over and over again. That's how it works. I'll give an example. One time I gave a presentation for about 8 hours, the same thing, about Islamic education in Islamic schools and so on. The staff actually was 300 plus staff members, teachers of Islamic schools and so on and so on. After the presentation, a lot of people, they came to, that was amazing, Jazakallah khair, that's so interesting, what else can I do? Reading this and looking for resources. There was somebody who was standing on the side. When I was starting to talk, he came to me, he goes, I just want to say something. I said, please. He goes, well, that was very interesting. But it doesn't work in my classroom. Because I know my students more than you. I said, Jazakallah khair, Assalamu alaikum. What happened with this guy? He learned absolutely nothing. Because he didn't open between the conscious and the subconscious. His subconscious overrides the conscious right away. So as an imam, a da'iyah, speaker, whatever that you do, in order to allow people to start making change, you have to create the environment that would allow them to open the barrier. What is that environment? Safety. If people need anything, they need safety. They need certainty. That if I cross the bridge, am I going to be okay on the other side? Like a man when he comes to counseling. He needs to know that if I listen to you, going the other side, I'm going to be safe. My wife is not going to actually kind of take over, blah, blah. So you have to create that sense of safety and certainty in a way to allow them to open up so they can actually have that positive change in their life. That's the first thing we need to know. Yes. الكوجنيتيف is اللي هو الإدراك الذهني. الإدراك الذهني. نعم. Number 3, the way of thinking about certain matters or subject change. We'll cover that point. The second thing we have here is the emotional change. Your attachment to something changes, positively or negatively. So here we have how you feel about a certain subject or topic. A lot of us, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, we love the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're stronghold of the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's no doubt about it. However, we have some issues with how we present it, how we hold it, how we deal with people, subhanAllah. So sometimes our attachment to the meaning of the sunnah should change from being strict on textual matters to an actual behavioral issues. Because the sunnah of the Prophet is in the akhlaq more than anything else. So when you start having certain attachment to certain, it becomes easy. I remember when I was actually young in school, in college, subhanAllah, I don't know how many of you, but back in the 1990s, there was a huge fitna among the ulama and the mashayikh, and they started attacking each other, criticizing each other. I was one of those kids who I was so much attached to one of my teachers, and I couldn't allow people to attack him and criticize him, so I was always defending him, subhanAllah. At some point, I had a conversation with one of my senior, I would say teachers, you could say. He gave me an advice, subhanAllah, there was a moment of learning for me. He said, listen to me, the Shaykh is still alive. If he wants to defend himself, you have done it. But he's silent for a reason. He said, so try not to be his advocate in that fashion. Wallahi, I learned that. I said, since then, I've never tried to be, so stubborn and so fanatic about someone in particular. Besides, I learned the statement of Umar ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala, استنوا بمن مات فإن الحي لا تؤمن عليه الفتنة. If you're going to follow somebody, follow someone who's already dead. Because those who are alive, not safe from the fitna yet. That was a great lesson, subhanAllah. And suddenly the emotional attachment changed from being absolute to being more objective. And that is easy to start changing things. Yes, please.
How can we separate between emotion, behavior, and values? If I engage in emotion, not maybe changing mind, emotion, how to separate emotion from behavior and values?
What you're asking about is how can you be safe, how can you be authentic versus non-authentic? You know the feeling of hypocrisy and nifaq? That's what it is. You know, absolutely. And where are we getting nifaq, for feeling of nifaq from? We're getting the feeling of nifaq from this. I believe in something, but I'm not doing it. So the behavior is not there. The value is there. The behavior is not there. What happens in between? Feeling of guilt. And you become hypocritical. Like Handala radiallahu ta'ala لما جاء قال نافق حنظلة. أبو بكر قال ما تقول؟ قال نكون عند رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فكأنما وجدنا والنار رأي عين. فإذا فارقناه وعافسنا الأولاد والأزواج نسينا كثيرا. Like he said to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, يعني, we listen to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم like we see Jannah and Nar. But then when we go home, it's just like, we forget or we become like hypocrites. That's exactly what it is. So our job, the entire life that we live in this world is about being authentic and genuine. Sabr is emotion and practice. Anger is emotion, but acting angrily is a behavior. Because you believe that anger is a way of venting, and you have the right to be angry. So that's a belief system. So it's an intertwine, and that's what I said. If the change happens in the three, it's perfect. That's genuine. But sometimes the change happens in one area. It's not perfect, but it's still progress, you could say. So here again, for the emotional aspect, how people they have this, and you need to, as a teacher, to try your best to emotionalize the experience. And by the way, people memorize things if they've been emotionalized for them. That's what the Prophet ﷺ, he said about the Quran. And then the Quran, ماذا قال صلى الله عليه وسلم? ابكوا. If you couldn't, what did he say? Tabaku. Like, try your best. Because when you emotionalize it, subhanAllah, it holds more tight. Ulama and mashayikh. You've dealt with a lot of ulama and mashayikh. Probably if I ask you what your sheikh said to you 20 years ago about this matter, you say, I have no idea. But you know one thing, that he made you feel great. Like one time, I remember the first week of my school in Medina University. What changed me, subhanAllah, made me so much, alhamdulillah, and did a lot in Medina University to the extent I became a valedictorian, wallahi. The first experience I had with Sheikh Shanqiti, hafidhahullah ta'ala, I was so disturbed because I didn't know which school should I take. Sharia, Hadith, Quran, this and that. And they gave me until next, because it's Friday. So the next day, Saturday, was the first day of school there. You need to decide. Otherwise, they're going to randomly select a faculty for you. And I wanted to go to Hadith, and some people that says go Sharia, this and that, subhanAllah. So I see him in Masjid Nabi as we were leaving, among the crowd. You can tell my imagine, thousands of people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought Sheikh Shanqiti to my left side over there. I see him, I said, the Sheikh, I should ask him. And then the shaitan comes, who are you even to ask the Sheikh? Is he going to be paying attention to you or not? So I said, forget it. As I was walked a little bit more, somebody bumped into my shoulder. I look, Tabarakallah, Sheikh Shanqiti. Immediately I said, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I said, Alaikum assalam. I said, can I ask a question? He goes, yes, please. So I said, Sheikh, I'm a new student. I came to Medina, my situation is I want to choose my faculty. So he started, mashallah, give me the advice. Okay, you choose this, you choose this. He gave me the advice. And then as we would start putting our shoes and sandals outside of the door of the Masjid Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, where are you going? Are you going to the buses? Or the bus station for the students? I said, yes, Sheikh. His house is on the other side as well. He goes, okay, come with me. He held my hand, and we kept walking for about 15 minutes. And throughout all these 15 minutes, he was giving me the advice on seeking knowledge. This and this and this. Wallahi, if you ask me right now, what did he say on those 15 minutes? I have no idea. But I know one thing. It made me feel again like I was in heaven. I was waiting to get to the university to tell the people what happened to me. But wallahi, he made me feel so special. He made me feel so important in that moment that made me, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, become the valedictorian at the end of the school years, the 4 years. That is a very special thing. You can change people simply by changing their emotions and how they feel about things. Can you imagine when you have somebody come to the masjid feel comfortable? Can you imagine someone new, suddenly you say, Assalamu alaikum, you look new over here. He says, oh, how did you know that? He says, well, you don't come, I don't see you very often. Well, that's true, I just came actually, moved into this area, blah, blah, blah. Ahla wa salam, my name is Fulan, his brother Fulan. He's actually the operation manager. If you need anything in the area, please make sure to talk to him, to talk to her, blah, blah, blah. When someone says, here's your wife, if your wife is with you, please go and send an email to sisters@valleyranchmasjid.org, blah, blah, blah. When you give them that, they have this beautiful, amazing feeling They change. They change. I want to actually, because we have 3 minutes, inshallah, to finish, just allow me to finish these slides, inshallah, come and open a chance for Q&A. The behavioral aspect. Now, that is the most important part. Why is that? Because what's the point if people believe in something to be great if they're not going to practice upon that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always says, what a jama'ah? الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَمَاذا؟ اعتقدوا الصالحات? Does Allah says, الَّذِينَ آمَنوا وَاعْتَقَدُوا الصالحات, ya jama'ah? No, He says, وَعَمِلُوا الصالحات. Most of us, آمَنوا وَاعْتَقَدُوا الصالحات. We believe, and we truly believe in the salihat. But do we work upon the salihat? That's a big problem in our life. So most of our people in our communities, mashallah alayhim, yani, they have the iman. They have the niyyah salihah. They have the good intentions, but they lack what, ya jama'ah? The practice, the behavior. Which is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إِنَّكَ عَلَىٰ خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Why is that? Because what was the mission of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ صَالِحَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I was sent to help people perfect their character. That's the whole purpose. So for me, my main focus whenever I make a presentation is what? The action item. Therefore, if I give a khutbah, the first thing I think about and get it ready actually is what? The action item. What do I need people to do at the end of the khutbah, at the end of the program, at the end of the seminar? That's the first thing I work on. Once I identify that, I make everything leads there. Because that's the most important thing. The behavioral change. So practice is the real learning, starting new habits and removing others, putting the foundation, founding knowledge into action. Basically sharing all of that, it's a matter of akhlaq for all of us. So this was part 2. Part 2 again was about the meaning of learning, what adult principles are, how do people learn, how do I know that the people learned. You can measure. You can measure what you've done if you see how people react to what you said. For example, I remember actually, one time I gave a khutbah on Birrul Walidain. Birrul Walidain, like any other topic, right? What was the last action item I said to them? I said, therefore, Jama'ah, if your father or your mother is still alive, please, go and talk to them and let them how much you love them. If they're away from you, call them. Let them know how much you miss them, how much you love them. If they passed away and they're near, visit the grave. Give them maqbara, go and make dua for them over there. Do something about it. So one brother actually came to me the next day and he said, you know, after the khutbah yesterday, Jazakallah khair, the first thing I did when I was walking in the parking lot, I called my mom. I said, Mom, I love you and I miss you. She said, what's going on? Because she wasn't used to that, right? But can you imagine this action item right now? It changed the way he deals with his parents. Suddenly it became something so valuable for them to call every now and then, so that next time he calls his mom, she's not going to ask, what's going on? She will say, and I love you too, son. But that's the kind of like behavior that we subhanAllah model in order for us to do, inshallah, the right action, bidnillah azza wa jal. Right now it's actually 12 o'clock, so therefore we have the break for lunch and salat al-dhuhr, and if you guys are going to go and maybe check out and bring your luggage down here, inshallah ta'ala, and then at 1, bidnillah, when we come back, we will resume. We have three parts. The next part is going to be about the adult learner. Means now the different category. What we're going to learn here there, inshallah ta'ala, the different characteristics of adult learners. We will be able to identify the different adult age groups. How are they? The particular needs for each group. How to model their learning experience. It's going to be 22 slides, inshallah ta'ala. We move through this bidla in no time, inshallah azza wa jal. Wallahu ta'ala. See you, inshallah.